Chapter 244. Sun Lang's smile was very kind, but Sima Ping's heart skipped a beat. But before she could protest, the waiter was even more anxious than her and hurriedly said, "Dear guests, this is not a joke. Even the government is unable to do anything about it. Even that second Master Kong is unwilling to stay in the 100 Herb Garden. That place is really evil. In the past few years, there have been people who didn't believe it and wanted to go to the garden to investigate, but none of them returned." Sun Lang and Zhao Yunlong looked at each other and smiled, then said warmly, "Thank you for your kindness. We know what to do. Waiter, we won't disturb you. Go and do your work." The waiter looked like he still wanted to say something, but Sun Lang smiled and shouted, "Shopkeeper." The waiter's expression froze. Then he stomped his feet and walked away helplessly. Just as the waiter left, Sima Ping shouted in a low voice, "Hey, you two can play however you want. Don't drag me into it." That waiter sounded like he was telling the truth. That place must be evil. Sun Lang said bitterly, "You silly girl. How are we going to play? We're going to find your future master. Her family is in decline. Her family is separated, and it can be said that she is carrying a family grudge. As her future disciple, although you are too weak to serve her, how can you stay out of it? Moreover," as he said this, he patted the table earnestly, "with us two big accounts to bring you to the dungeon. What are you afraid of? You can just lie at the entrance of the dungeon as a doorman. When the time comes, you can complete the mission, gain a good impression of your master, and also gain some experience. Isn't that great?" Sima Ping looked at him with a cold gaze. "Are you that kind? You are a person who doesn't get up early if there are no benefits. Why would you think for me? Tell me the truth. This is a matter of everyone taking what they need. NPCs ask players to run errands, and they still have to give some money and trash items like beggars." Sun Lang said proudly, "We brought you to the dungeon, so you have to pay something. We are kind and don't need you to pay, otherwise you can't afford to hire us." Sima Ping's gaze became colder and colder. "Then what do I have to pay? It's like this." Sun Lang pointed at himself, and then at Chao Patao. "You know, we're both max-level players, and Chao Patao has a full set of godly items. If we go to the Her Garden alone, we can turn Silent Hill into the Staff of Truth. It won't be terrifying at all." Sima Ping realized something and laughed angrily. "So you want to bring me a burden? You're exaggerating, Ping-er," Sun Lang said sincerely. "With your weight, how can you be a burden? At best, it's a horror atmosphere builder and a scream generator." Sima Ping had goosebumps all over her body when she heard Sun Lang call her Ping out of the blue. When she heard Sun Lang's next words, she was furious. "How could you say that?" She immediately became agitated and her temper flared up. She shouted, "I'm not going. I'm not going. I won't go even if you beat me to death." Sun Lang's smile became even gentler. Hearing this, he asked, "You're really not going?" "I'm not." Before Sima Ping finished her words, she saw Sun Lang looking at Zhao Yunlong with a bright smile. General Yunlong also smiled knowingly and then turned to look at her, revealing a smile that made her hair stand on end. After hanging out with Sun Lang for a few days, Sima Ping had a good understanding of this bastard's character. The girl suddenly realized that if she flatly refused, he would definitely order Zhao Yunlong to grab her by the collar and run a few miles to the herb garden. Then, he would throw her into the haunted house like a discus thrower and stand there to listen to her panic screams. "If you don't go with us, then I'll send you to Solo." Sun Lang's smile clearly revealed his intention. Damn it, she thought. However, a wise man submits to circumstances. Master also said that a doctor must learn to protect herself. In front of these two incurable mental patients, she should do so even more so. To put it simply, she was terrified. Just you wait. Just you wait. I'll definitely write a letter to Milk Cow Zhang to complain. Definitely. Although Sima Ping's heart was filled with hatred, she did not have the courage to take the risk. The girl stood up angrily and said, "Let's go. Let's go." Sun Lang smiled calmly. "Child, why are you in such a hurry? It's broad daylight now. What's the point of going there? It'll be more interesting if we go at night." As he said this, Sun Lang said with some regret. I didn't know that Lu Town had such a good place. If I had known, I would have brought Yin Luo here. After hearing so many interesting legends about demons and ghosts, and seeing the various thrills of the 100 Herb Garden, she will definitely be unable to restrain herself from hugging me, letting out a cry of joy, and then shedding tears of gratitude. When Zhao Yunlong heard this, he said calmly, I can do it too. Sun Lang was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled. Forget it. I can't imagine you crying. I've cried before. Zhao Yunlong said indifferently. After the battle at Dahuang Mountain, when no one could find you, I secretly cried in the tent. Sun Lang's smile froze. He was silent for a long time. Then he said softly, Oh, I also cried at that time. The two of them fell into silence. There were some things that Zhao Yunlong did not dare to ask. Sun Lang did not want to say. A secret was a secret. Keeping it a secret was keeping it a secret. People would always be curious. Sun Lang sighed. Don't ask. When I want to say it, I will say it. I hope you won't regret it at that time. General Yunlong supported his chin with his hand and looked at Sun Lang. His voice was calm but firm. In my life, I only regret one thing. When you were transferred to Dahuang Mountain, I did not go with you. The ranger shook his head. This is something that I should be happy about. Chao Patao's eyes flashed. He wanted to ask more, but Sima Ping suddenly shouted, Hey, don't talk about such suspicious things in front of unrelated people. If there's anything, can we find a room and close the door and talk about it slowly? Perhaps it was the girl's sudden but appropriate interruption that shattered the awkward atmosphere. Sun Lang abruptly returned to his senses. He looked at the little girl and smiled. It's okay. You're not an outsider. Before Sima Ping could feel touched, she heard Sun Lang continue. And it's easy to kill them. Go to hell. The girl jumped up and shouted. Since we're not going now, let's find an inn. I'm tired from the journey these few days. I want to find a bed that won't shake to rest. Sun Lang looked at the sky and saw that it was already afternoon. The sun shone down on them, making them feel warm and comfortable, making them feel sleepy. Thus, the three of them found an inn in Lu Town. Although this town was not as prosperous as Qianhang Prefecture, it was still a water town on the left side of the river. It could be considered rich, and the people were rich, so it had its own uniqueness. The best inn in the area was built by the river. It was elegant and gentle like a beauty in a water town. The scenery was different from that of the north, and it was an eye-opener for Sima Ping. Anyway, the girl screamed when she pushed open the door to the sky room. She rolled onto the bed and rubbed against the quilt made by Su Yu. She refused to come down. She's still a child after all. Zhao Yunlong closed the door for the girl and followed Sun Lang downstairs. The two of them found a table in the main hall and sat down. They ordered some dried fruits and desserts, as well as a pot of osmanthus tea. They looked out at the small scenery of the water town and slowly passed the time. At this time, Sima Ping was sleeping soundly upstairs. However, the two of them did not revisit the previous topic. After being comrades for so many years, they still had this bit of tacit understanding. Zhao Yunlong poured a cup of tea for Sun Lang and asked casually, What are we going to do in the 100 Herb Garden? Just to have some fun? Sun Lang laughed. That little girl is too inexperienced. It's fine if she doesn't understand, but Chao Patao, you've been through hundreds of battles. How can you still be so simple and childish? If someone else had said this about great General Zhao, they would have been whipped dozens of feet away by her spear. However, the person who said this was Sun Lang, so it was a different matter. Zhao Yunlong smiled slightly. When I'm with you, I don't have to use my brain. I just have to fight with you. Haven't we been like this before? This was also true. The ranger nodded and took a sip of tea. He muttered, Originally, we came to find Master Lu. Her family ran amok and bullied the people in the village. As a result, they lost their virtue and suffered retribution. Originally, it was not surprising. Second Master Kong, who replaced the Lu family, was also not a good person. If she wants to take revenge, let her. Anyway, it has nothing to do with us. She can do whatever she wants. But he put down the teacup and smiled. There are two strange things about this. First, you said that she returned to her hometown in the last few months. With her fiery temper, Even if her relatives and family were not good people, she would not ignore them. Especially her fourth uncle's family. They died so miserably. How could she just stand by and do nothing? Zhao Yunlong said, "Didn't the waiter say that the remaining women and children in the Ren family room disappeared? Could it be that she secretly took them away?" "It's possible, but there's a problem." Sun Lang waved his hand. "That second Master Kong is still alive and well. If this Kong Zhongwu was really a great hero, then it would be fine. But now, it seems that he is just an evil wolf who is intoxicated with success. He is just the same as the original Liu family. This Kong guy is not a good person, and he can't be separated from the decline of the Liu family. With her temper, how could she let him go so easily?" Chao Patao nodded and said, "But this Kong Zhongwu is still alive and well. He's revered and flattered by those who used to look down on him. Could it be, no, that Kong guy's martial arts are not bad, but compared to her, he's still lacking? The reason why Master Liu did not take care of Second Master Kong is most likely that he found the most exciting part of this drama in Liu Town." Sun Lang's smile was somewhat unfathomable. Second Master Kong and Xia Agae, these two people who have stirred up the winds and clouds of change in Liu Town in recent years, were just down-and-out debauches that everyone could look down on. They seem to have risen overnight and gained amazing martial arts skills. They became ambitious and ruthless people who were as wise as the sea. How is this possible? Indeed, this is the biggest point of suspicion. Zhao Yunlong's expression also became serious. Kong Zhongwu, Xia Agawei, and even that something sister-in-law. It's fine if it's just one example, but for such people to appear one after another, it means that someone is manipulating all of this. Martial arts is the perseverance of sailing against the current, the bowing of the water dripping down a stone. It's fine if it's just an individual case of fortuitous encounters, but as the saying goes, when things are abnormal, there must be something wrong. When such cases of instant success appear on a large scale, it means that there's a problem with the martial arts cultivation system of the past 1,000 years. The consequences are very serious. She glanced at Sun Lang and hesitated for a moment before saying softly, "After all, your situation is unique in the world." Sun Lang's smile became meaningful. And this is the most interesting part. Chapter 245. Sun Lang's smile turned meaningful. And that's the most interesting part. Zhao Yunlong was slightly taken back at his words, but Chao Patao was not stupid either. She just had to use her brain for a moment to understand what Sun Lang was thinking and inhaled sharply. "How is that possible?" Sun Lang sneered. "Of course not. They were so lucky back then that they barely succeeded once. And now they want to succeed a second time? In your King dreams." Even if he was only casually mentioning the past, Sun Lang's tones still showed a hint of hatred that he could not let go. Still, he quickly realized that this was not the place to lose his temper, and so his rage faded as he glanced at Zhao Yunlong. "That's not what I'm worried about. You still don't know about Zhao Fei Huang, do you?" Then he gave a cursory account of Miss Zhao and the demonic item, which left Zhao Yunlong frowning. Possession by a demonic item? Kong Zhongwu and Xia Agawei's examples are very similar. Both of them were penniless, weak, and uncouth, but in a short period of time, their martial arts and intellect had become worlds apart. It's as if their bodies were possessed by the spirit of a demonic item. But that's not the case. At least, it's not a simple possession. Sun Lang said calmly. "When I saw Kong Zhongwu before, I deliberately observed him, but I didn't sense the power of a demonic item. If you say so, then it really isn't the case." Zhao Yunlong nodded in understanding. So, even if Dumbo Kong's body wasn't possessed by the spirit of a demonic item, I still feel that there's a subtle connection between this and Miss Zhao's case. Moreover, even if Kong Zhongwu's body wasn't possessed by a demonic item, there's still a huge problem. Sun Lang held up a finger. Even if there are things like 10,000-year-old knotweed that can increase inner strength without going to Hangzhou, and even if they were lucky enough to jump off a cliff and meet an old man who was ready to bless them at any moment, and even if their inner strength could be improved quickly combat experience and administration still need to be accumulated and trained. The ranger spread his hands. Others aside, even if he's a martial arts prodigy that only appears once in 1,000 years, where did he get the means and strategy to swallow the Liu family's entire industry? That's why, if he wasn't possessed by some old monster or sky demon, there's definitely an elite guiding him from behind the scenes, even manipulating him and giving him advice. That's why I'm saying that this isn't a small problem either. Stroking his chin, he mused, to be able to produce an elite of Dumbo Kong's level and take down the Liu family's industry in one fell swoop without breaking a sweat. If there's someone pulling the strings behind the scenes, their power would definitely be frightening. But here's the problem. Such a powerful person or organization would definitely know that the Liu family has a famous doctor like Master Liu, and yet they still made a move. That means that they aren't afraid, or Zhao Yunlong had a weird look on his face when he heard that. But in the end, he shook his head and smiled. In the end, it's still about Dr. Liu. Does that mean it's still because of her? Sun Lang said impassively, "Idiot, idiot. You don't get it, do you? What are we here for? We're here to send our children to study. Annie Liu's temper is so bad and her personality so weird. There's nothing we can do if she doesn't want to accept us. We can't just hang and beat her until she agrees, can we? Since she's so thin-skinned, we'll give her a little favor first and help her solve this problem so that it won't be so easy for her to refuse when the time comes." Zhao Yunlong pursed his lips. "I'll help you no matter what you do. Why bother explaining so much?" Sun Lang glared at him. "Are you asking for a beating?" Zhao Yunlong craned his head over. "Yes, I haven't been beaten for a long time. Go ahead." Sun Lang's face was unreadable. Faced with Chow Patao's head suddenly craning toward him, he really wanted to give her a lightning viper drill. A drill bit so that she could enjoy the feeling of being shot down 3,000 feet. Still, he really couldn't bring himself to do it, and so kept a straight face and said seriously, "Go back." Under Sun Lang's tyrannical abuse over the years, Chow Patao reflexively cowered and obediently sat back down. "Anyway, that's how it is." Sun Lang nodded in satisfaction. "Originally, we'd directly stop Dumbo Kong at a street corner, put a gunny sack over his head, hang him up, and beat him for a night. Even if he's made of iron, we'd still have to tell him everything. But considering that someone might be manipulating him from behind, we can't act rashly and alert the enemy. So, we'll take a trip to her garden." He thought about the various strange rumors the waiter had told him about the herb garden and smiled meaningfully. The Liu family used to live well, but after the incident, it became a haunted house. Over the years, many lives were lost, and the Yamen sealed it. Even the famous second Master Kong didn't dare to live here. Word of mouth spread among the people of Liu Town, with both the underworld and the government serving as witnesses and ready-made examples of people losing their lives. Thus, the herb garden became a forbidden place that no one dares to set foot in. So, if you say that there's nothing shameful about it, I won't believe it even if you beat me to death. Zhao Yunlong nodded. "That's true. Now that the herb garden has become a forbidden place, naturally no one would want to go in and investigate. If all of this is man-made, then they're obviously trying to hide something. And that's enough reason for our operation." Sun Lang looked at Zhao Yunlong and smiled softly. "Whatever the enemy is afraid of us doing, we'll do it. It's always been like that." General Zhao smiled and nodded. "That's right, it's always been like that." The sun set in the west, and the curtain of night covered the sky. Dark clouds covered the moon, and the night was dark and cold. Sima Ping yawned and woke up from the soft and fragrant bed. Feeling around in the dark, she groggily turned on the light. She rubbed her eyes and sighed contentedly. From the time they set out until now, she finally had a good night's sleep. But in the next moment, her happy expression froze because she saw the sky outside. The moon and stars were dim, and the night sky was hazy. It wasn't that she couldn't see her fingers in front of her, but the night was still dark. This kind of hazy, illusory night was the most dangerous because it would make the night traveler have endless daydreams about the dark, especially when they were about to go to a haunted house. But she tilted her head. There was no one in the house, which meant She quickly blew out the light and then crawled back into the bed. Very good. I'll pretend to be asleep and muddle through this. Also, maybe that adulterous couple suddenly fell in love with each other, and the heavenly thunder ignited the earth's fire. Now they're doing some shameless things in the room, and they don't have time to care about the herb garden. Who knows? If that's the case, then this lady's chance to make a comeback is here. At that time, I'll use this as leverage to blackmail him. If he doesn't comply, I'll tell this to Big Cow Zhang and let this guy know what it means to have a backyard fire. She laughed a few times, completely forgetting Sun Lang's hearty words during the day. It's easy to kill him anyway. But a moment later, her beautiful dream was ruthlessly shattered. A faint laughter penetrated the floor and gently resounded in the girl's ears. Don't hide. I can even hear the sound of you wetting the bed. About the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Sima Ping energetically rushed downstairs, looking like she wanted to eat someone. She slammed her hands on the table and growled at Sun Lang. You're the one who wets the bed. Your whole family wets the bed. Sun Lang shrugged and pointed at the table. The fragrance assailed his nostrils. There were fried dumplings, soup dumplings, and other salty snacks. There was also a bowl of steaming hot cat ears. They were all exquisite southern snacks. Sima Ping had slept for an entire afternoon, and her stomach was empty. When she saw this exquisite meal, she couldn't help but feel happy. She sat down and started to eat. However, Sun Lang said very unhappily, "Eat until you're full and have some courage. Do you want to drink some wine? Drink less tea, in case you pee." Thus, this dinner quickly ended with Sima Ping eating as if she was eating old thief Sun's raw meat. After eating, the girl revealed a tragic expression. She wiped her mouth, stood up, and stared fiercely at Sun Lang. Let's go. After the three of them went out, they first turned into a dark alley. With the light of the hotel's lanterns, Sun Lang opened the bag in his hands and took out 3 pieces of clothing. When he shook them out, it turned out to be 3 black cloaks. Sun Lang handed the 2 cloaks to Zhao Yunlong and Sima Ping. The little girl took the cloak and said in a mocking tone, "What do you want this for? Why don't the 2 of you just kick the door in? Do you want to leap onto roofs and vault over walls?" However, she only saw Sun Lang and Zhao Yunlong look at each other and smile. There was a tacit understanding between their brows. Then, with practiced movements, they put on the cloaks in their hands. In an instant, Sun Lang, who looked elegant on the surface but was actually a scumbag with a belly full of evil tricks, turned into a mysterious person who was the same on the outside and the inside. As for the handsome and majestic Zhao Yunlong, after putting on the cloak and hood, he also turned into a normal person without any presence to speak of. These 2 people's movements were so practiced. Who knew how many times they had done this in the past? Sun Lang's laughing voice came from the cloak. "Little girl, let me teach you another lesson. When we travel the world, the second most important thing is to keep a low profile. The first most important thing is to show off in an earth-shattering manner after keeping a low profile. These 2 are the greatest joys of traveling the world. Also, remember, there are only 3 of us. If there is one more person, remember to scream at the top of your lungs." Reality proved that people with extremely rich imaginations were not suitable to visit haunted houses or watch horror movies. This was because their outstanding imaginations would become the source of their greatest fear. With Sun Lang's description, Sima Ping immediately imagined such a scene. In the pitch-black night, they were traveling through the desolate and deathly silent 100 Herb Garden, looking for suspicious clues. Suddenly, she felt an indescribable chill in her heart. She suddenly realized that, without knowing when, a third person wearing a cloak had appeared beside her. In shock, she loudly screamed, "Sun Lang!" One of the people turned his head. The cloak covered his face, and only a strange voice came out. "Do you think I look like Sun Lang?" Then the other person turned his head and said in a strange tone, "I am Sun Lang." Then, the third person looked at her eerily. He did not say anything, but suddenly lifted his hood, revealing an incomparably terrifying face. He hissed, "Look at who I look like." Zhao Yunlong turned his head to look at Sun Lang. "Hey, why are her legs shaking now?" Sun Lang shrugged. This kind of person can only watch A-rated movies. Chapter 246. The Her Garden was the residence of the Liu family. It faced the East Tianshui River to the north, the Shin family's courtyard to the east, and the Liang family's back garden to the west. It was wide in the south and narrow in the north, covering an area of more than 10 acres. It was shared by the Liu family's Run and Ji families. Of course, this was a few years ago. Now, the owner of this place had been blown away by the wind and rain. The original bustling scene was no longer there. Even the Shun and Liang families around it had moved away. The 100 Her Gardens that the common people of Liu Town envied with jealousy and hatred had already become a haunted house filled with sparrows. All kinds of supernatural events and urban ghost stories emerged one after another. After the Yaman's Laoi, Dasha's second master Kong, and the Taoist priests and eminent monks were defeated one after another, this place had truly become Liu Town's forbidden area. However, there were some crazy people who didn't believe in ghosts and wanted to come to the supernatural dungeon. In order to ensure that the monsters in the dungeon were strengthened to the best state, they even deliberately waited for the time when the Yin energy was the strongest. At this time, the air was cold, the moonlight was dim, and the surroundings were dead silent. Occasionally, the sound of insects could be heard. It seemed that the atmosphere was tense and stagnant. In this atmosphere of something is going to happen, Sun Lang hummed Neza and walked leisurely with his 2 followers towards the Her Garden. As he walked, he said very strange things, as if he didn't think the scene was lively enough. Since we are already here, we must look around carefully. Remember, in this kind of dungeon, the core of the operation is one word: curiosity. If you see a basement, remember to go in. If you see a peephole, remember to look. If you find a strange book, don't be afraid, just read it. To ensure efficiency, we have to act alone when necessary. If you feel like someone is spying on us, remember to shout, "Is there anyone there?" If you encounter something strange, just curse and... He thought for a moment, turned his head, and said seriously, "It is said that having sex in this kind of place can easily cause special events. Why don't we give it a try? Go to hell." Sima Ping was horrified. She gritted her teeth and said, "If you go too far, I will knock myself out. Is there anyone who threatens people like you?" Sun Lang was speechless. "You don't say. It's really effective." Zhao Yunlong said calmly, "It's okay. Can she keep fainting? If there really is an evil ghost, we will capture it. When young Miss Sima wakes up, we will let her examine it." "Chow Patao, you're so mean." Sun Lang pretended to be dissatisfied. "She's just a child. How can you be so cruel? If you ask me, get a metal cage." All right. Sima Ping screamed. "Can you stop talking nonsense? Let's go now. Can we go now?" Sun Lang nodded his head in satisfaction. But the 100 Her Garden is divided into large and small gardens, and there are several gates. Which way should I go in? Hey, Divine Dr. Sima, do you prefer front or back, top or bottom? Sima Ping did not hear the hidden meaning in his words and asked cautiously, "What do you mean? What's the difference?" "Yes, of course," Sun Lang said mysteriously. "Now focus your attention and look in front of you. Tell me, which direction gives you the most dangerous feeling?" Sima Ping did not understand what he meant, but she still followed Sun Lang's words and looked at the big house not far away. It had high courtyard walls and did not have a single trace of light. It had been uninhabited for a long time, and there was no sign of life. The ancient books said that this kind of place was the most likely to breed evil spirits. Now it seemed like it was true. She felt a cold air blow against her face, and without thinking, she pointed in a direction. "That way." Sun Lang nodded and said, "Okay, it's that way." "Hey!" Sima Ping was furious, but Sun Lang and Zhao Yunlong quickly walked in that direction. The girl's eyes turned, and she wanted to secretly run away. But this dog couple's martial arts were high, and their conscience was very bad. If she was caught running away, who knows what kind of tricks would be waiting for her. Moreover, she looked at the dark night sky, and the bone-chilling cold air made her shiver. The girl's heart jumped, and she did not dare to stay, and quickly followed. "You really know how to pick a place. After walking for about half an hour, Sun Lang stopped and looked around. Look, that's the East Tinshui River. This is the river port, and there's a back door. It's probably a place to transport grass, ash, and manure, as well as to dispose of household waste. We've probably arrived at the Liu family's vegetable garden. Sima Ping cautiously moved closer to Sun Lang. Well, what's inside? Sun Lang spread out his hands and said, It's a vegetable garden. What else can there be? Of course it's the pea shooter, Zhang Qing, Chive's admiral. What are those? The paladin shrugged. Well, it's nothing more than green vegetable beds, tall acacia trees, purplish red mulberries, and so on. Let's go. Along the narrow path, along the river, they came to the back door. The door was locked, and there was a bright yellow scribble and a dark yellow seal. It should be a seal consecrated by a master and belonged to the double oppression of the government and religion. Sun Lang carefully observed the scribble, shook his head, and casually pulled. Together with the seal and the iron lock, they were all torn to pieces. Although Sima Ping was prepared, she was still shocked by Sun Lang's recklessness. Hey, aren't you afraid that something dirty will run out? Sun Lang sneered and said, If this kind of nonsense drawn by a wine and meat monk is useful, then Taoist white snow would be Lord Tai. He stretched out his hand and pushed. The door seemed to have not moved for a few years, and it made a creaking sound. In the quiet night, it was abrupt and strange. The three of them stepped into the back garden and could not help but be slightly stunned. Logically speaking, the vegetable garden had not been taken care of for a long time, and it should be overgrown with weeds. But now, it seemed that it was still in good order. From the neat vegetable beds to the clean stone well and the lush trees. Although the moonlight was hazy, they could still see that everything in the vegetable garden had not been contaminated by desolation and abandonment. At a glance, it seemed that there were still people living and growing vegetables here, Sima Ping said in a low voice. Could it be that the loyal servants are still living here, guarding this house for their masters? Sun Lang nodded and said, It's very possible. The loyal servants who have served the Liu family for their whole lives can't let go of the place where they lived and the memories engraved in every place. So, although something like this happened, although they encountered such a thing, they still stayed here, as usual, taking care of the vegetable garden, cleaning the house, waiting for their masters to come back. They clearly remember everything, how to clean the house, how to take care of the vegetable garden, their master's preferences, and their mission. The only thing they forgot, his tone suddenly became Sunran. The fact that they have died long ago. Sima Ping was moved at first, but when she heard the last part, she felt goosebumps all over her body. She screamed, It's become a ghost story again. Sun Lang said seriously, This kind of reversal is more interesting. Think about it. We met an old servant who was patrolling at night here. He held a dim lamp and guided us to patrol this herb garden. He enthusiastically led us to look for clues and check for any possible clues. Although we felt that something was wrong, we couldn't tell what it was. We felt that the atmosphere around us was indescribably strange. We kept finding clues, but we kept falling into traps. In the end, we realized that it was this ordinary-looking old servant who had been leading us, and his ultimate goal was to keep us here forever, to keep a secret. Sima Ping had already covered her ears tightly. I don't want to hear it. 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 What are you afraid of? Anyway, there's only one ending to this story, and that is the handsome me will use a F*King Bullsh** T gesture to point at the old servant who had a gloomy smile and say that earth-shattering line. Sun Lang stretched out his hand and pointed to the distance like the Big Dipper fist. You are already dead. As soon as he finished speaking, a simple and elegant face suddenly appeared on the wall in the direction that Sun Lang pointed at. The beautiful woman's eyes moved, and she looked at Sun Lang angrily. Then, she revealed a charming smile that made people's hearts surge. F***CK. F***CK. The ranger was shocked at first, but then he walked over with a smile. Where did this little girl come from? The moon was dark and the wind was strong. In the gloomy old house, the beautiful woman's face suddenly appeared on the wall. She seemed to be very alluring, but she was extremely strange and strange. A mediocre person who was fascinated by beauty walked toward the beautiful woman's smiling face. Something terrible was about to happen. I mean, this inhuman beauty was about to encounter the most terrible crisis in her life. But in the next moment, a golden light shot out from the house behind and shot toward them. The beautiful woman's expression suddenly changed, and she let out a scream that did not sound like a human's voice. She flipped down the wall, and a black aura rushed into the sky, entangling with the golden light. Waves of strange roars could be heard as the two monsters fought. The sound gradually faded away. Sun Lang opened his eyes wide and chased after them happily. F asterisk CK, F asterisk CK, F asterisk CK. This is F asterisk King exciting. So F asterisk King exciting. Where's my phone? I need to send a WeChat. F asterisk CK. He sighed. In just a moment, the two strange things that were fighting fiercely had already disappeared. Sima Ping had just recovered from her shock and followed Zhao Yunlong closely. She chased after him and said with a shocked face, "What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened?" Sun Lang thought for a moment. Bai Sujin fought Jinyi, F.A. Wang? Sima Ping was about to go crazy. Please say something that I can understand. What have you been saying from the beginning until now? You can understand. Sun Lang looked around and said with a strange tone, "Face the wind." She did not understand this sentence either. Sima Ping was just about to complain, but in the next moment, she suddenly felt a chill that made her extremely uneasy. The girl abruptly turned her head and then abruptly widened her eyes. Because in her eyes, the dark green vegetable beds, the tall acacia trees, the purplish-red mulberries, everything under her garden was undergoing an extremely strange and terrifying change. Chapter 247. The chilly wind billowed, and the demonic purple light suddenly blazed. In the blink of an eye, the desolate garden underwent a drastic change. A series of sharp cries rang out from the vegetable beds. The green leaves had already turned purple. These plants had actually come to life and struggled free from the soil. As they shook the soil, they shook their purple heads and opened their mouths that had split open from who knows where. They stepped on the limbs that had transformed from their roots and rushed towards the three of them. Sima Ping was so frightened that she screamed when she saw a monster in the middle of the night. She subconsciously wanted to hug Sun Lang's arm, but the quick-witted ranger was already prepared. He dodged to the left, causing the girl to miss and stumble. Zhao Yunlong snorted coldly. The spear in her hand was still wrapped in a long cloth, but the sharp, murderous intent was already stirring. She took a step forward and shook the spear. That godlike heroic posture gave Sima Ping an infinite sense of security. The girl first glared fiercely at Sun Lang, then clenched her small fists and prepared to cheer for General Zhao. But in the next moment, someone cried out pitifully, "Wah! What monster? Run! Ah!" Sima Ping looked at Sun Lang with a dumbfounded expression as he jumped and ran, not forgetting to shout and wrangle. This person's acting was exaggerated, and his skills were so poor that even a 3-year-old child would not be fooled. But before she could complain, a gust of wind blew past. The originally majestic general, Zhao, dragged his spear and ran. Following Sun Lang, he also shouted and wrangled. This person's acting was not much better than Sun Lang's. Wait! Sima Ping looked at the scene where the two highest-level characters were running in the wind. She suddenly realized that the group of monsters that they had just pulled were now. She suddenly turned around and let out a tragic scream. She screamed loudly and ran away. This person's acting was obviously much better than the two in front of her. So Sun Lang ran while turning around and giving a thumbs up. "I admit, in terms of acting, you are still better acting your head." Sima Ping felt as if her soul was about to fly out of her body. Behind her came the crazed screams of the cabbage, radish, and sweet potato spirits, as well as the sounds of their mouths closing and closing. It made her feel infinite fear and anger. "What are you two doing? Hurry up and think of a way." Sun Lang ran and shouted, Don't panic. Don't panic. These are vegetables. They're definitely tired of living. Now that they're chasing after you, they must be tired of living and want you to take them to the kitchen to cook and serve. Seema pings of her voice. Then let them roll into the pan first. Sigh. I really don't know what to do with you. Sun Lang took out a small metal can from his bosom. He used his fingernail to lightly cut open a small hole in the can, and suddenly threw it behind him. Feier, you're so sinister. Sima Ping had seen this thing before and was so scared that she cursed. What are you planning to do? Why would these spirits be afraid? Before he finished speaking, these cabbage and cucumber spirits seemed to have smelled something. They all let out excited shouts, then turned their heads and rushed in the direction where the cans had landed. It was as if they had seen the most precious treasure in the world. Layer upon layer, they piled up into a ball and desperately squeezed their way in. Who still cared about Sun Lang and the others? Sun Lang saw that this thing was useful, so he stopped and looked at the eggplant and yam spirits stacked together in a Tetris from afar. Sima Ping saw this and said angrily, "Why aren't you running?" The ranger put his hands on his waist and said proudly, "I'm not afraid of them. If I want to run, I'll run. If I don't want to run, I won't run. If you don't like it, bite me." Sima Ping was furious. She wanted to bite this bastard to death, but she suddenly heard a series of painful roars. She turned her head and saw those oddly shaped cucumber, yam, and eggplant spirits were like deflated balloons. They let out painful cries and fell to the ground one by one. They once again turned back into the shape that the girls were familiar with. The girl was stunned. She turned around and said, "This kind of shit can be used like this?" Sun Lang shook his head seriously and said, "I only added a little poison that has a high volatility. I didn't expect it to have such a miraculous effect." Sima Ping looked at the ranger with a strange expression and quietly took 2 steps back to show that she was drawing a clear line between her and this crazy person. Sun Lang glanced at the small pile of vegetables and rubbed his chin. "This saves us the effort of harvesting the vegetables. These vegetable spirits pulled themselves out by themselves. Hey, Dr. Sima, can you go pick up 2 cucumbers and see if they can be used?" The girl jumped and said, "I feel like you have been targeting me since this afternoon. How can you eat this kind of cucumber? I didn't ask you to eat it." "Ah, yes, it's also a mouth." Sun Lang sat on the stone well railing and crossed his legs. "Why do you think these vegetables have become spirits? Who decided on them?" Sima Ping said angrily, "How would I know?" She rolled her eyes and wanted this guy to end this farce quickly. But when she turned around and saw Sun Lang, her expression froze. Hey, come down quickly." Sun Lang looked at the stone well with a puzzled face. "What's wrong?" the girl said in a trembling voice. "Don't you see?" She pointed at the stone well whose surface had become smooth due to the passage of time. Now, under the dim moonlight, this ancient well seemed to be emitting a strong aura of resentment. Drops of blood oozed out of its surface, becoming rough and ferocious, as if they were flowing tears of blood. At the same time, the sound of a sharp object rubbing against the stone wall came from the well. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. It was as if something was slowly climbing up. Sima Ping was so scared that her legs were weak. She said in a trembling voice, "Hey, why aren't you running? Why, are you going to fight? Are you going to run or fight? Tell me." Sun Lang looked baffled as he said, "Are you hallucinating? Why should I run? What fight?" Sima Ping swallowed a mouthful of saliva and pointed to the stone well. The sound of rubbing against the stone wall was getting louder and louder. The cold resentment was getting stronger and stronger. The thing that was climbing out of the well was getting closer and closer. Sima Ping shouted anxiously, "Didn't you hear it? This thing is about to climb up. Hey!" Under the dim moonlight, a pale and ferocious hand with slender fingernails reached out from the deep and empty well and rested on the edge of the well. In the next moment, Sun Lang, who was sitting on the railing of the stone well, lifted his leg and kicked against the edge of the well. As if to prove that the well was sturdy and normal, he kicked 2 more times, both of which landed on the claw. Sima Ping even faintly heard the sound of something cracking. She froze in place, watching Sun Lang continuously kick against the edge of the well. Then he turned around and smiled at her. Look, it's completely fine. Are you hallucinating from the fright? Are you hallucinating? As he said this, the hand seemed to be unable to bear the unbearable pain and let go. Sima Ping faintly heard the sound of a heavy object falling from the well and then a loud splash. She then looked at Sun Lang, who was smiling innocently. Her tone became indifferent. Hey, is it very fun? Sun Lang blinked. I really don't know what you're talking about. As he said this, he jumped down from the well and came to the side of the well. His hands formed the shape of a loudspeaker, and he shouted into the well, Hey, is anyone there? When Sima Ping heard this, is anyone there? It formed a huge sound wave that rumbled back and forth in the narrow wall of the well. It was accompanied by the sound of something crying out in pain. Obviously, this guy who looked as if nothing had happened had used a sound attack like the lion's roar. Her eyes became even colder. You really are playing around. Sun Lang laughed heartily. He casually took out a can of mysterious substance and tossed it in the air a few times. Suddenly, he was careless, and the can slipped out of his hand and fell into the well. I'm so careless. There was a loud sound of teeth biting on an iron object, followed by the muffled sound of a heavy object falling from the well. She could imagine a terrifying monster jumping out of the well in exasperation. It opened its mouth and let out an angry roar. However, Sun Lang just happened to carelessly throw something down at this moment. She shuddered and looked at the well. Her eyes actually revealed some pity. Although demons and ghosts that harm people should be treated and destroyed, but this was too inhumane. Sun Lang rolled up his sleeves and looked into the well. Sigh, evil. This can accidentally fell into the well. This well is contaminated. To prevent people from drinking the dirty water, let's seal this well. Chow Patao, give me a hand. Let's find a few big stones. When Zhao Yunlong heard this, she first responded, but she did not move the stones. She held the gun tightly and looked around. She whispered, Almost there. Sun Lang also retreated a few steps and pretended to look for stone. He nodded and said, It's about time. The other side's underestimation of us has almost disappeared. Their vigilance has already risen to the highest level. They have already realized how difficult it is to deal with these uninvited guests. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, they will use the highest level of etiquette to receive us as guests. Sima Ping was confused, but did not stop her from hearing the light of relief. Then, shall we start fighting? No. Sun Lang chuckled and said, We won't fight. From now on, we will act according to my mood. We will continue to run until the master comes out to treat us personally. The girl was about to say something when she suddenly heard the rustling sound of the wind blowing the trees. But the next moment, she realized something was wrong. Where was the wind? She abruptly raised her head and saw that the lush branches of the shirtang tree above everyone's heads suddenly came to life, twisting and turning into numerous agile tentacles that swept towards the three of them. Sun Lang shouted, Demon! Demon! The three of them did not say a word and started running. Just as they dodged the flexible tentacles, Sima Ping suddenly saw Sun Lang scrambling to the side in a sorry state. At the same time, she felt something tighten around her waist. Zhao Yunlong had picked her up by the waist and dodged to the right. Then there was a rapid sound of something breaking through the air. She took a closer look and saw a string of mulberries flying towards them like a barrage of cannons. When it hit the ground, they looked like puddles of fresh blood, dripping onto the ground and making sizzling sounds. Sun Lang dodged and scolded. Hey, when I ate them in the past, I thought your mulberries were troublesome. Your hands, mouth, tongue, and teeth were all purple. One look, and I knew it was not a normal fruit. Sure enough. Chapter 248. This 100-herb garden was like a ferocious beast that had just awakened. It let out an angry roar that shook the heavens and the earth. The three of them dodged the attacks of the mulberry archers. Everything around them became more and more treacherous. Between the gloomy trees, There were shrill cries that sounded like the cries of cicadas. It was unknown what kind of thing was hiding there. Then, fat wasps the size of human heads shot out from the cauliflower field, shooting sharp spikes at the three of them. In the grass, strange birds with pitch-black wings and the size of sparrows soared into the sky. They circled above the three of them like bombers, ready to pounce. Everything was like the craziest nightmare, terrifying and real. Sima Ping's screams mixed in, creating a terrifying atmosphere. Sun Lang's acting was still clumsy as he screamed. Zhao Yunlong dragged the battered and exhausted Sima Ping as the three of them dodged left and right. Every time, they would just barely dodge the attack. Their bodies moved, and they became more and more battered. Other than Zhao Yunlong grumbling in a low voice, "These stings are so slow. I'm dying of anxiety." When he pushed aside the wasp stings by a hair's breadth, everything was more perfect. Sun Lang fired his firearm, and the fire Qilin let out a loud roar. Sparks flew everywhere, and those wasps that seemed to have unlimited ammunition and were constantly shooting their stingers were all targeted by the sharpshooter's skill. They all said that they had received 50 points and received a lunchbox. Their huge bodies exploded in the air, and disgusting liquids splashed everywhere. Those skylark-like strange birds were also frightened and scattered. After Sun Lang reloaded his gun, he shouted, "Take advantage of this moment and run. My ammunition is limited." The three of them panicked and fled in all directions in the backyard. Not long after, they fled near a tall mud wall. Suddenly, they saw a translucent ghost leaning against the wall and singing softly. There was a low sound of a zither coming from the bottom of the wall. They didn't know who was playing the zither, but then the bricks on the ground exploded, and a centipede jumped up and bit the three of them. Bang, 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 bang. 6 shots were fired consecutively. The centipede's venom was splattered everywhere. Its limbs were broken. The centipede fell to the ground and was still twisting and turning. However, when a ranger was reloading, the mud wall was broken. A long, round body with yellow stripes on its back rushed out with a loud bang. Its sharp forelimbs were aimed at Sun Lang's waist. Zhao Yunlong, who was at the side, raised his gun and pressed it down horizontally, hitting the back of the giant insect. The insect hissed in pain and lay on the ground. In an instant, the insect's back orifice spewed out a strong mist. Zhao Yunlong frowned and held his breath. He grabbed Sima Ping and retreated. "This is a spotted centipede." Sun Lang first took a look, and his spirit was lifted. What the F***CK? A Spanish fly? He rolled back, and when he stood up, he had already reloaded his gun. He raised his gun and sent the insect to see the cave lord. The ranger clicked his tongue and said, "Such a big spotted centipede. How much is it worth?" "Oh yes, you guys don't know. During the war, we used spotted centipede to make stink bombs. It was made from these insects, mixed with arsenic, aconite, and human feces. It was easy to make, and the results were remarkable. In ancient times, Westerners used this thing to make ointments and spices. This group of weaklings who don't understand art. However, at the same time, they also discovered the greatest use of spotted centipede. In this kind of dark and windy night where danger lurked everywhere, Sun Lang actually ignored the atmosphere and began to explain seriously. He turned his head, looked at the 2 young girls, and gave them a thumbs up, revealing a smile that all men understood. This thing is commonly known as the Spanish fly. It's an extremely effective spring. Medicine. Let me tell you, it said that the medicine is very strong if a man uses it. If a man uses it. When he said this, he seemed to have realized something. He looked at his hand, and the smile that all men understood immediately turned into a sneer mixed with sadness and disdain. Trash. Then he fired a few shots and blew up the thing completely. Then he waved his hand and said, "It's not a good thing. Shimanqing died after eating too much of this thing. There's also Henry IV and Louis XIV. Sima Ping was already a little numb from the series of strange events. She said indifferently, "Well, what's next?" From the beginning until now, vegetable beds, stone well railings, acacia trees, mulberries, cicadas, wasps, skylarks, oil flies, crickets, centipedes, spotted centipedes. Oh damn, this order is so familiar. If that's the case, Sun Lang counted with his fingers and blinked, as if he felt that this order was very familiar. Next is Chinese knotweed and mullein. How can it be so coincidental? As soon as he finished speaking, the soil on the ground was lifted up, and slender vines broke out of the ground one after another. The mud wall was damaged and collapsed. The three of them looked back and saw that the vines were entangled, the bloated roots and the huge lotus house were squeezed together, entangling into an ugly human shape. It let out a thin and evil laugh, and then entangled the three of them. Sima Ping was pulled back by Zhao Yunlong, but she was obviously shocked by Sun Lang's prediction. She thought that this guy was playing tricks again. She looked at Sun Lang and shouted, "How did you know?" Sun Lang seemed to be in some kind of shock, but he did not dodge. His body was entangled by the long vines, and the branches were like pythons tightening, but they could not tighten their grip on his body. Sun Lang came back to his senses after a while. Looking at the humanoid monster that kept entangling the vines, he said lightly, "The language teacher taught me well." Then he casually pressed on one of the vines, and a series of rapid explosions could be heard. The monster let out a blood-curdling scream, and its slender body exploded inch by inch. The entangled figure twisted twice in the air, and then fell to the ground, never to move again. Zhao Yunlong noticed Sun Lang's abnormality. "What's wrong with you?" Sun Lang came back to his senses and shook his head. "I just thought of something." Sima Ping took 2 steps closer and vaguely saw the shock and sadness that flashed across Sun Lang's face. He had clearly thought of something, but in the next moment, the ranger suddenly let out a panicked cry. F***CK. That scared me to death, scared me to death. How did this monster suddenly die? What's going on? Run, run. He shouted and crawled into the big hole left behind by the collapse of the mud wall. Sima Ping was stunned. She even thought that Sun Lang's expression was just an illusion caused by the darkness of the night, until Zhao Yunlong walked past her. "Let's go," she responded and hurriedly followed behind. Outside, the sounds of demons, devils, ghosts, and monsters once again rang out. It was truly a group of demons dancing wildly. It was unknown how many monsters were letting out terrifying roars behind them. The crisis of death surged violently. Although Sima Ping knew that there were 2 great experts protecting her, the fear in her heart was still uncontrollable. She could only follow closely behind the 2 of them, drilling in and out of this huge Zhou residence, avoiding the ferocious monsters behind her. After running for an unknown period of time, a trace of golden light flashed by her side. It was so warm in the dark night. A kind voice suddenly rang out. "Amitabha Buddha, 3 benefactors, quickly come here." Sima Ping turned her head and saw a kind old monk standing at the end of a corridor. He waved at the 3 of them. "Come here quickly." In the middle of the night, and in such a terrifying place, even if this old monk who suddenly appeared had a benevolent expression, emitting a golden Buddhist light, and a benevolent face, Sima Ping did not dare to let down her guard. However, Sun Lang had already rushed over and said in a panic, "Master, save me. Master, save me. There's a pitcher plant spirit chasing after me, saying that it is fated to be with me and wants to be my airplane cup." A trace of confusion flashed across the master's face, as if he was thinking about what a pitcher plant spirit was and what an airplane cup was. But the next moment he showed a kind smile. "Benefactor, this Zhou family is not a good place." At this time, the Yin Shi is at its peak, and demons are dancing wildly. Evil spirits are everywhere. Why are you running around here? Please follow me to a safe place to hide. After dawn, you will naturally be safe. At that time, please leave quickly and don't stay. Sun Lang looked as if he had seen his savior. He followed beside the old monk and patted his chest lightly. I'm scared to death. I'm scared to death." He took a few deep breaths and calmed down. He wiped his sweat and asked the old monk, "Master, why are you here? Could it be that they are here to subdue demons?" The old monk laughed bitterly. As he walked, he put his palms together and said, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. Earlier, I did come here to subdue demons. But the powers of the demons here are too strong. I was useless and was not a match for them. I even died in the hands of the demons. After I died, I still couldn't escape and was trapped here, unable to leave. Sunlang blinked and then took a few steps back. He said in shock, What did you say? The monk also stopped and said respectfully, I don't dare to lie to you. This body is no longer human. But please don't be afraid. I don't have the intention to harm you. It's dangerous here. It's not a place to talk. Let's talk as we walk. I stopped you for 2 reasons. Firstly, to save someone. Secondly, I have a favor to ask of you. You are the only living people who have entered this place alive. I died, but couldn't escape because my bones were tainted. It's also because I have an obsession in my heart. Sun Lang was hesitant, but the old monk's attitude was sincere and his words were reasonable. So he reluctantly moved his feet and walked side by side with the old monk. The senior monk, who was in a corpse-running state, said as he walked, The reason why I died and couldn't reincarnate is because I'm trapped here. Firstly, it's because my bones are here. Secondly, it's because the demonic aura here is too strong. If the demons here escape, the entire town will be destroyed. I stayed here and tried my best to suppress them, but I'm already unable to do so. So please, after you leave, go to my sect and ask them to send someone to purify this place and release my soul. Sun Lang nodded and immediately acted like a hot-blooded youth who was deeply moved. He accepted the task and patted his chest, saying, No problem. But master, this place is very strange. Why is it so? Also, we saw the face of stunning beauty on the wall. The master led them to a temple. Rich families had people who chanted Buddhism and cultivated. It wasn't surprising that they built this kind of religious building to increase the output of faith. He led the 3 of them in and looked around. Then he closed the door and said calmly, That one is called a snake beauty. She likes to eat people. But don't worry, it's safe here. After the door was closed, Sun Lang's tone also calmed down. Master, how do we defeat this snake beauty? The old monk's expression didn't change. He put his palms together and said, Amit Ba, I don't know either. Oh. Sun Lang looked back at the shrine with a strange expression. Then how did you catch her and bring her here? Chapter 249. Oh. Sun Lang looked back at the shrine with a strange expression. Then how did you catch her and bring her here? Zhao Yunlong had already shielded Sima Ping behind him. The old monk's expression suddenly changed. His face suddenly became ferocious and gloomy. Sun Lang still acted as if he did not notice. He clasped his hands behind his back and said indifferently, Master, according to the script, you should have said that the snake beauty is not difficult to deal with. You only need a box of flying centipedes to suck her brain dry and kill her. Why didn't you say that? Is it because you're old and forgot? Or did you not learn this skill and did not get this item? Or, the paladin turned his head and looked at the old monk. He said calmly, You are the flying centipede? The old monk's head drooped down. It was as if he did not have the back of his neck to support his head. Then he threw himself forward and used his hands to support himself on the ground. He changed from a 2-legged human to a 4-legged beast and let out a ferocious roar. Then the clothes on his back bulged and broke open. Flesh and blood exploded. Sima Ping screamed as blood splattered. This was because a ferocious, golden centipede with many twisted joints stood up from the old monk's back. Although the humanoid body was drenched in blood, its spine was nowhere to be seen. Looking into the wound at the back of its head, there was only an empty space. Sima Ping saw this, and her hair stood on end. When she realized what had happened, she almost vomited. This centipede had taken over the old monk's body. It had swallowed the old monk's brain and replaced the old monk's spine. That was why it could control him like a normal person. A small half of the centipede's body popped out, but most of its body was still connected to the old monk. It replaced the old monk's spine and sent orders to the dead body through the connection with the neurons. The monk was on all fours. His face had turned pale. Although he had died long ago, he still let out a creepy sneer. The centipede's body was circling and dancing. Its dozens of legs were dancing. There were still thin nerve wires left on its limbs. It relied on these countless legs to entangle the nerve wires to send orders to the dead body. It had merged with the old monk and turned into a parasitic monster. This horrible thing had never been heard of or seen before. How did it exist in this world? Sima Ping was so frightened by the creepy scene that she could not say anything. Even Zhao Yunlong frowned slightly, his eyes flashing with astonishment. Even on the Heaven's Origin battlefield, such a shocking scene was rare. Sun Lang was still calm, but his eyes flashed with understanding and sighed. He said quietly, "Do you have consciousness? Can you understand what I'm saying?" The old monk and the centipede roared at the same time. The old monk exerted strength on his limbs and pounced at Sun Lang. The centipede's legs were circling, and its sharp mandibles dripped with dark green venom. It also bit at Sun Lang. This monster, a man and a beast, cooperated perfectly. Their attacks were methodical, especially the body of the centipede. Its limbs danced, and its legs slashed. It appeared and disappeared unpredictably. It was not inferior to the martial arts of the world's warriors. However, this was of no use. Sun Lang faced the monster that was charging at him. He stretched out his right hand and clenched it. The air seemed to explode with a thunderclap. The invisible pressure suddenly increased. The monster roared in pain. Its pouncing body suddenly stopped, as if it was bound in the air by an invisible force. Sun Lang raised his hand again. The wind obeyed his command. Carrying the sharp sword Qi, it pierced through the air. With a series of crackling sounds, the centipede's legs left its body and fell to the ground powerlessly. Sun Lang said indifferently, "I'll ask you one more time. Can you understand what I'm saying? If you don't, you can only be an earthworm." The old monk, who was lying on the ground, raised his head strangely. His eyes were white and his face was gray. He roared in a terrifying tone, "Kill! Kill! Kill! Eat! Eat! Eat!" Sun Lang tilted his head. "Who made you? You really have no taste. Other than killing and eating, you also need to F***ck. That's perfect." The centipede seemed to have limited intelligence. Its 8 eyes stared at Sun Lang, making his hair stand on end. As for the old monk's mouth, it was not idle either. It kept saying words that were full of hostility and illogical. Sun Lang could not figure out if it was pretending to be stupid or if it was really stupid. With the mentality of trying, he wanted to force it to confess, but the next moment his expression changed, not good. The centipede's body twitched violently. After a while, it was obviously relaxed and limp. Just like after the gun was fired, it lost control of the old monk's body and also collapsed on the ground. It was only twitching slightly. Sun Lang walked a few steps closer and narrowed his eyes. "Humph. I was careless." It actually injected the venom from its own poison gland into its body. Impressive. Sima Ping was still in a state of shock. Hearing this, she trembled and said, "A centipede can be poisoned to death?" Sun Lang rolled his eyes. "Haven't you eaten the stomachs of cows and sheep?" "Oh." The girl looked at the mutated insect that was already dead and hesitated for a moment. "This master. Let's bury him. If he dies, then he dies. It doesn't matter whether he is buried earlier or later. Now, let's deal with the more important things first." Sun Lang frowned. "I miscalculated. I didn't expect that this guy would be able to commit suicide so decisively and have such a move. Also, I thought that it would be a big boss. I didn't expect it to be a small fry." But he swung his left hand back, and the huge shrine moved horizontally. Sima Ping let out a low cry. Behind the shrine, there was a beautiful woman with a beautiful body. She was dressed in black. Her eyebrows were dark, and her body was enchanting. Her waist was soft like a snake's. Her eyes were moving and seductive. The most important thing was that her eyes were vertical and golden, just like the eyes of a snake. Sun Lang waved his hand. "Hey, Orochimaru, you don't seem to be on the same side as this flying centipede. I have avenged you. Shouldn't you thank me?" The snake beauty's eyes rolled around, but her body couldn't move. She must have been poisoned by the centipede. She looked at Sun Lang, and a deep fear flashed in her eyes. Animals were originally more sensitive than humans. Although she was hidden behind a shrine, she could easily sense the fear and helplessness of the flying centipede that couldn't resist Sun Lang. "Oh, right? You must have been bitten by the centipede. You have to thank me even more. If it wasn't for us, you would have already released the book of flower-eating insect." Sun Lang nodded seriously. Then, he turned around and said to Sima Ping, "This fellow has been bitten by a centipede. Go outside and find a chicken. Use the chickens but to cover the wound, and you'll be able to suck out the venom. In order to prevent you from misunderstanding, I'll emphasize that the chicken here refers to a type of domestic fowl in the class pheasant. What other meaning does chicken have? I always feel that you look very wretched like this." Sima Ping shouted. "Also, where did you hear this from? If you were bitten by the centipede, you could just use the antidote pill." Sun Lang rolled his eyes and said, "Then what are you waiting for? Why don't you quickly detoxify her?" Sima Ping instinctively agreed and took out the antidote from the small medicine bag she carried with her. But looking at the snake beauty lying on the ground, a trace of fear flashed in her eyes. I don't dare. What are you afraid of? There are 2 big shots protecting you." Sun Lang shook his head, angry that she didn't fight back. "Chow Patao and I. Which one of us can't crush her with a finger? You ought be a bit more bold." Sima Ping handed over the antidote and shook her head like a rattle drum. "Why don't you go? Your martial arts are so high. Detoxify her yourself." Sun Lang said proudly, "I don't want to be a hero." The girl was stunned for a moment. "What do you mean?" But Sun Lang seemed to have thought of something. He stretched out his hand, and the small bottle in Sima Ping's hand flew out and landed in his hand. The ranger touched his chin and muttered, "It might not be useful for monsters, anyway." But in the next moment, a gust of wind blew, and Zhao Yunlong floated over, taking the small bottle in Sun Lang's hand, and said indifferently, "Let me do it." Sun Lang blinked, and was a little confused, not knowing why Chow Patao was so proactive. As for Zhao Yunlong, he had already found the bite wound on the snake beauty's body. He applied some medicine on her wound and fed her a detoxification pill. The snake was originally of the poison attribute, so her poison resistance wasn't low. With the help of the detoxification pill, the centipede venom on her body quickly receded. After all, she was of the beast attribute, so her ferocious and wild nature was still there. Being so close to a human, she instinctively felt hostility, but before she could express her hostility, Zhao Yunlong glanced at her indifferently. And then there was and then the snake beauty tilted her head to the side and couldn't be more innocent. After finishing, Zhao Yunlong stood up and took a few steps back, faintly blocking between Sun Lang and the snake beauty. The ranger snapped his fingers. "Okay, Orochimaru, I have something to ask you." The snake beauty frowned and said, "My name is not Orochimaru." "Oh." Sun Lang glanced at the guy's black clothes. Then Hei Xiandang, the other party, called out again. "What's the matter with this name? I can't help it when I think of the snake beauty. The first person I think of is by Sujin, but you are dressed in black, and you look neither plain nor pure, so..." Sun Lang gave a thumbs up. "Hei Xiandang. This name is good, right? Then it's decided. You will be called Hei Xiandang. If you don't like it, I will kill you. Do you want to roar or not?" No roar. Hei Xiandang's heart was full of tears, but under Sun Lang's tyrannical abuse, she could only pinch her nose and acquiesce, helplessly saying, "What do you want to ask?" "Everything you know about this garden." Sun Lang said indifferently, "You'd better tell me the truth. The cucumber and eggplant spirit that is like a living thing, the female ghost that crawled out of the well, the snake beauty and the flying centipede, the plant that sprays out fruit, and even the monster that parasitizes the human body. These things, these concepts, should not exist in this world, but when I was bored, I once told some people such ghost stories. As for how these things that I casually said at that time became reality, it must be a very wonderful story. You'd better not try to deceive me." Chapter 250. When Sun Lang casually said such words, Sima Ping and Zhao Yunlong's expressions changed at the same time. Divine Dr. Sima's face showed an expression of I was wondering why this plot and idea was so familiar, so that's why. And Zhao Yunlong seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed slightly. And He Xin Dang, the snake beauty, said hesitantly, I don't know what you're talking about. We originally lived here, but a force bound us, not allowing us to go out. So we lived here, praying. I said before, my patience is limited. Sun Lang sighed. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. That snake beauty saw that she couldn't hide it, so she closed her eyes and said coldly, just kill me. Chow Patao. Sun Lang's tone was indifferent. Let her speak. Zhao Yunlong walked towards the snake demon, and as he walked, he turned his head and asked, do you want to be fast or slow, dead or alive? Sun Lang said coldly, a clear brain, a mouth to speak. Perhaps this was the time when the two of them truly had the style of Tian Yuan Xiao Jiang, cold and resolute, without pity. He turned his head and said to Sima Ping, go out and hide for a while. However, maybe he overestimated the snake demon's moral integrity, or maybe this demon had a beast-like intuition. But before Zhao Yunlong made a move, she sensed a fatal danger from the murderous aura emitted by the other party. A beast's instinct to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages took over, and she was originally just such a beast. The snake beauty shrank her body in fright and shouted, Master, Master, save me. Sun Lang Sunran said, even if you shout until your throat is broken, no one will come to save you. But at this moment, a cold snort suddenly came from outside. Broken Throat is here, who says no one will come to save her. Hearing this voice, Zhao Yunlong, who had already placed his hand on the snake beauty's shoulder, turned around in shock. Sun Lang's expression also changed. This was the first time Sima Ping had seen Sun Lang reveal a bitter smile that was a mixture of shock and helplessness. You're still playing with such an old joke. A figure appeared outside the door. Her long hair fluttered in the night wind. The door was pushed open and a woman stepped in. Her height was limited. She was only slightly taller than Sima Ping, but even in the dark, she was extremely eye-catching. This woman's skin was unhealthily pale, but her eyes were like a flame burning in the dark night, bright and full of spirit. Her thin lips were tightly pursed, and there was an indescribable coldness, as if she was mocking something. She held a tobacco pipe and lit it up, which flickered in the dark. For some reason, Sima Ping had a feeling that this person's temper must be very explosive. Then, she saw the woman who suddenly barged into the candlelight of the Buddha Hall, and Sun Lang, silently staring at each other. These two fellows, could it be that they had an affair as well? As expected, you didn't die. There was a hint of bitterness in the woman's voice, which seemed to be mixed with joy and sadness. But then, these emotions were replaced by anger. So you just left and left all the people who care about you behind. What have you done in the past 2 years? Do you know that some people are still sad for you? Do you know that the Jia family... Sun Lang interrupted her and smiled lightly. Before I find all the people I have let down and cry bitterly for my 2 years of absence and disappearance, begging for forgiveness, I have to first settle an even earlier debt. After all, we still have to talk about first come, first serve, right? Aunt Lu, the matters in this world are tangled and complicated. It can't be measured with a simple right or wrong. Don't bite your tongue. Sima Ping sucked in a breath of cold air. Aunt Lu? Could it be this? Aunt Lu sneered. I haven't seen you for 2 years, but your mouth has become sharper. Sun Lang said indifferently. My martial arts have also improved a lot. Killing you now won't take more than 5 moves. So powerful. Zhao Yunlong heard from the side and said in surprise, I still have to use 23 moves. A trace of depression flashed across Aunt Lu's face. These two bastards, after a few years, they still cooperated so seamlessly. However, at this time, she had no intention of arguing with Sun Lang. This snake is my pet. Give her to me. You've taken a little elf? No problem. Sun Lang waved his hand. Zhao Yunlong stretched out his hand, and the edged spear that was stabbed into the ground flew over to him. He flipped it over, and with a flick of the spear shaft, he tossed the snake beauty over. Master Lu reached out and caught his pet. At this time, The poison in the snake beauty's body had not been completely removed. It was still somewhat inconvenient for her move, so she could only weakly call out to her master. Divine Dr. Lu checked her wound and picked up a bit of the antidote. He rubbed it and observed for a while. He frowned and said, "Ping Laoxi's antidote. He's not dead yet." Sima Ping's eyes reddened when she heard this. Sun Lang said calmly, "He died a few days ago. Everything he wanted in his life turned to dust." "Is that so?" Master Lu was stunned. He then shook his head and said, "What's there to complain about?" She raised her head and glanced at Sun Lang. "What are you doing here?" Sun Lang pointed at Sima Ping. "This is Ping, Yidao's disciple. She wants to take over her stupid master's mantle and become the next generation's idiot. However, she's stupid, funny, and weak. She's far worse than Ping Yidao. She wants to send her to you to be trained." Although Sima Ping was anxious about this Master Lu's temperament and character, when she thought of her dead master and how this was Sun Lang's kind intentions. She also thought of the pain she had suffered at the hands of Sun Lang a few days ago. She forced a smile, wanted to leave a good impression on her new teacher. Then, she calmed down and prepared to accept the other party's test and examination. After all, he's a doctor highly regarded by Sun Lang. His medical skills and skills must be top-notch. However, since he's a famous doctor, he might have a strange personality and be arrogant. He'll definitely test me. I can't embarrass my master. However, she didn't expect Master Lu to not play by the rules. Sima Ping's brewing feelings and preparations fell through. She glanced at Sima Ping and said directly to Sun Lang, "Leave her here. You can leave. Come back 3 years later to pick her up. She'll be at least 30% as good as Ping Yidao back then. I won't tell anyone about you. Don't worry. Why are you in such a hurry? Are you in a hurry to go home and eat?" Sun Lang said calmly, "Sending her here to learn is only one of the reasons. The other reason is that I happened to hear a strange rumor in Lu Town and saw something familiar here. Aren't you going to tell me about it?" "There's nothing to tell." Master Lu frowned. "It's none of your business. There's nothing in this world that I can't control." Great Dr. Lu's expression became even gloomier. "You've gotten worse by using force to oppress people. It's all because of the Empire's teachings." Sun Lang sneered. "You planted the evil seeds yourself. What are you talking about now?" His words had a double meaning. Master Lu's expression froze. "I don't know what you're talking about. You have to tell me today, even if you don't want to." Sun Lang pointed outside. "What's with the demonized plants? Who made the female ghost that crawled out of the well? What's with the flying centipede?" Master Lu said angrily, "I don't know anything. Bullsh asterisk T." Sun Lang's expression became colder. "This is your home. This is the story you heard from me. You tell me you don't know anything? Lu, are you tired of living?" "Yes." "Why? Do you want to kill me? Do you want to extort a confession from me? Or do you want to find my family and threaten me?" Master Lu's expression became miserable. She laughed and said, "Then why don't you do it? I'll know even if you don't tell me." Lu Shujian. Sun Lang's intense emotions calmed down. He took a deep breath and said indifferently, "Almost the entire Lu family was wiped out. The hatred of the extermination of a family can be said to be irreconcilable. This is a blood feud. If the enemy was stronger than you imagined, given your character and our friendship back then, you wouldn't hesitate to ask me for help, but you didn't." He looked at great Dr. Lu and said indifferently, "Why is that? Why don't you want me to get involved? Why don't you want me to know who did it? There are only 2 possibilities. How about it? Do you want me to keep guessing?" Master Lu suddenly screamed, "Don't say any more." Her expression and temperament had always been cold and calm. At this moment, she suddenly lost her composure and screamed. Even Sun Lang was stunned for a moment. At this moment, the snake beauty suddenly hissed. A fishy wind blew in his face. A huge python appeared from the black light and rushed out with great Dr. Lu. Although the incident happened abruptly, it was nothing for an expert like Sun Lang. He was not in a good mood at the moment. With a casual point of his finger, sword energy shot out from his body and pierced through the air. If it hit the target, the 10 snake beauties would be cut in half. However, at this critical moment, a long spear shot out and shattered the sword energy. Sun Lang glanced at Zhao Yunlong and said indifferently, "Explain." Zhao Yunlong's expression was fearless as he said in a low voice, "You've lost your composure. It's easy for people to make mistakes in this kind of situation. I'll give you a chance to reconsider and make a choice. They can't run far. If you insist, I'll go kill that snake and intercept Lu Shujian. Have you decided to fall out with her and never reconcile again?" Sun Lang was silent for a moment. All kinds of things that happened with great Dr. Lu in the past came to his mind. He thought of her hysteria just now and the pain and struggle in her expression. Finally, he said indifferently, "Bringing you along was the right thing to do. Although I've always been angry when I'm forced to think for others, now that I think you're also thinking for me, I'm not so angry anymore." He walked out of the temple. "Let's go. Just as you said, they can't run far." Zhao Yunlong froze in place, waiting for Sun Lang's impatient voice to come from outside. Only then did he let out a few silly laughs, dragging his gun as he followed out. Sima Ping cast a sidelong glance at him coldly. "Hey, your tongue is about to come out." Chapter 251. The night was dark and chilly winds blew. The snake beauty transformed into her human form and ran alongside Lu Shujian. The two of them increased their speed to the maximum, but even so, they couldn't shake off the terrifying enemy. They had clearly passed through more than half of the Lu residence, but Sun Lang's despicable and slutty laughter came from behind them. "I see, this thing with the face of a dog." When Miracle Dr. Lu heard Sun Lang's mocking voice, she couldn't help but feel angry and amused. This guy was as cold as ice and had a cold-blooded appearance as if he wanted to kill someone. But in the blink of an eye, he had become so despicable. But no matter whether she felt familiar or happy, she couldn't reveal the secret and couldn't let Sun Lang catch her, even if this was an almost impossible task. She thought for a moment and made a decision. Although the Lu residence occupied a vast area and had a complicated terrain, hiding in it wasn't a wise idea. After all, Sun Lang and Zhao Yunlong's martial arts were too high. No matter how deep she hid, they would find a way to find her. Moreover, there were some things in the herb garden that Sun Lang couldn't see. She should think of a way to lure Sun Lang out, and then find a suitable opportunity to turn passive into active. But just as this idea arose, Sun Lang made a move. The ranger deliberately shouted loudly, "Chow Patao, in order to prevent Aunt Lu from hiding in the herb garden, you should set a fire here right now. Set her house on fire and make big news. In this evil feudal landlord depression of the working people of Lu Town, and at the same time, add some strength to global warming." Miracle Dr. Lu almost stumbled. She cursed in her heart. What she wanted really happened. But she didn't doubt Zhao Yunlong's degree of obedience to Sun Lang. In the past, there were countless infuriating things that happened in the army. Even if Sun Lang said he wanted to burn down the palace for warmth, this person would definitely nod and do it. So she immediately stopped, turned around, and shouted angrily, "Stop! Do you know how many demons and ghosts are hiding in the 100 Her Garden? If you burn them and make them homeless, they will run to the town and cause a disaster." "Ayaya?" Sun Lang pretended to be surprised and said, "So I misunderstood Godly Dr. Lu. Godly Dr. Lu's entire family died, but you didn't want to take revenge. Instead, you hid in this 100 Herb Garden to restrain these demons and ghosts and prevent them from running out to bring disaster to the world? Also homeless? Did I hear wrongly? This 100 Herb Garden is your home, right?" He burst into laughter. Could it be that Annie Lu, as an advanced landlord class, you have deeply realized the seriousness of racial discrimination and class oppression, and have given your property to this group of demons and monsters so that they can have a place to stay? "Aya, what kind of spirit is this? Admirable, admirable. But you should have said so earlier. How easy is this?" His smile was still very bright. "Tell me, who is the one behind all this? I will help you kill all the demons and ghosts in this 100 Herb Garden. You know, for me, this is absolutely not a problem." Dr. Lu's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. "Other than killing demons and ghosts, you also have to kill some people, right? That's none of your business." Sun Lang waved his hand. Are you going to tell me or not? If you don't, I will set fire. When the time comes, all the demons and ghosts will come out and wreak havoc on Lu Town. I will let you see what is called a biohazard crisis." Dr. Lu was angry and couldn't help but sneer. "I don't believe you can do such a thing." Sun Lang laughed heartily. "Then you're wrong. If I go crazy, even I'm afraid of myself." "What's wrong?" "As one of the few people who knew the truth back then, do you still expect me to have a high moral standard?" His expression became incomparably cold. "Tell me, do you think I am a good person?" The two looked at each other across the air. The wind was hurried, and the cold was bone-chilling. The atmosphere was unprecedentedly solemn. However, Lu Shujin still lowered her eyelids and said indifferently, "You won't do that, because you have disappeared for 2 years. If you wanted to kill people, you would have done it long ago." "Huh, huh, huh." Sun Lang laughed 3 times, each word deeper than the last. When he laughed for the 3rd time, the violent killing intent had already overflowed, shocking Lu Shujin to the point that it was as if thunder had struck her mind. The snake beauty was even more unbearable. She tightly covered her ears and screamed as she fell to the ground. The ranger said in a low voice, Aya, this is King embarrassing. You guys." He rubbed his nose, and his smile grew wider. "Me? How did I get to know you guys? Go back, if you still think of me as a friend." Miracle Dr. Lu sighed. "Or you can kill me with 1 punch. I am in a difficult position, and I don't know what to do. This matter is intricate and complicated, and has already exceeded the scope of my ability. I don't want you to be involved in this matter, but I don't have the power to stop you. I hope your resentment and anger can be dispelled, but I also can't watch this country fall into disaster. As for what to do, I also don't know. If I die, will you give up?" Sun Lang said coldly, "You are still awake, so don't talk in your sleep. You see, even if I commit suicide, it won't solve the problem. Instead, it will provoke you to become even more violent." Miracle Dr. Lu smiled bitterly. "However, it is very tiring. The Lu families matter, and even more matters everything," Sun Lang said indifferently. "You said you think of me as a friend, then why don't you tell me when you encounter something that you can't solve?" Lu Shujin shook her head and said, "This kind of thing, to put it bluntly, you are still afraid. You are still afraid." Sun Lang said softly, "From the time of the war until now. At first, you all thought that I was an emergency prop that fell from the sky, hoping that I could buy you precious time. But you didn't expect that I would survive and live a better and better life, so you all wanted to repair the relationship with me. You used family to bind me, friendship to influence me, and love to tempt me. High positions and generous salaries, beauties, and fame, you all hoped that I would become one of your own. But here comes the question. Do you all think of me as one of your own? From the beginning to the end, in your hearts, you all remember where I came from. And before you do anything, you will think of this point. In your eyes, after all, I'm also a guy like the sky demon outside the outer domain." Sun Lang looked at Miracle Dr. Lu and said softly, "Lu Shujin, you said something about friends. Then let me ask you here. In this vast world, how many people do you think treat me sincerely?" Zhao Yunlong poked his head out from the side with a gun in his arms. Me. Sun Lang pretended to hit him. "Be serious. Why did you jump out? Squat down on the side." As expected, Zhao Yunlong ran to the side with his gun in his hand and squatted on the ground. His back looked very lonely. But Sima Ping squinted and said, "Hey, your saliva is almost dripping to the ground," Lu Shujin said in a daze. "Everyone has private interests. It is already very rare for you to have a close friend like General Zhao." "That is true." Sun Lang smiled. "At first, I thought so too. It is already amazing to have a few true friends in one's life. The rest of the people are smiling on the surface, but I don't care what they think in their hearts. Anyway, I quite like how they can't wait to eat my flesh, but still have to respectfully call me Marshal and have no choice but to build a new, feudal empire with me. But what?" Lu Shujin looked at Sun Lang's lonely expression and finally asked the question she had always wanted to ask, but never asked. This was also the truth that countless people desperately wanted to find out. What happened in the great desolate mountain? In this life, I have always liked to lie and talk nonsense. But this is the only thing I don't want to lie about, Sun Lang said calmly. So I can't say. So I can't tell you. Dr. Lu said in a daze. Why? Sun Lang was silent for a moment and said softly, I am afraid that if I tell you, we can't be friends anymore. He looked at the sky, and for some reason, he breathed a sigh of relief. Since we have already said this, we can't fight anymore. Aunt Lu, I don't lie. I can't do it to you, so I can't do anything if you don't want to tell me. However, there is no such thing as an airtight wall in this world. In this world, there is no justice that is always absent. Even if you don't tell me, I will find out the truth. Justice? You believe in this? Dr. Lu laughed in spite of himself. This word coming from your mouth is really strange. Yes, I believe in it. I actually believe in justice. Sun Lang smiled, and then said in a clear voice that had never been so serious before, at this very moment, the fact that I'm still alive in this world is the greatest justice in this world. A wrong is a wrong. No matter what the reason is, if you do something wrong, you have to pay for it. His eyes were burning as he stared at Dr. Lu. In exchange for letting you go today, let's make a bet. Lu Shujin raised her eyebrows. Bet on what? Sun Lang said decisively. Bet that I can find out the truth about this matter. Let's bet. Dr. Lu snorted. If you win, what do I have to do? If I win, Sun Lang glanced at Zhao Yunlong, who was squatting on the side. You have to be like her. Divine Dr. Lu also glanced at Zhao Yunlong, who was squatting there. Great General Zhao sensed their gazes and turned his head to look at Sun Lang pitifully. It looked like he was about to whimper. Dr. Lu seemed to have thought of something and said angrily, shameless, vulgar. Sun Lang gave him a sideways glance. What are you thinking? I've been eating vegetarian recently to cultivate my body and mind. I haven't been close to women for many years. Bah! Dr. Lu obviously didn't believe him. I'm a medical student. You've been full of lust recently. Obviously, you're bursting with lust and thinking about little girls every day. The ranger said angrily, bullshit. Bullshit. How can you accuse me of nothing? Humph. Lu Shujin stretched out her hand. A word spoken cannot be taken back. Let's bet. Sun Lang said, what are you spacing out for? Master Lu waved his hand. Clap your hands and swear. Well, forget it. Chapter 252. The night exploration of the 100 Herb Garden came to an end just like that. Even though no problems were solved. Even though the whole night was filled with fear. Even though a lot of incomprehensible things happened. Even though Sun Lang became very strange. Even though he clearly brought me to find my new master, he almost beat her up. But it's over. All, gone. Because I can finally solve the problem in this gloomy and strange place where birds don't shit and chickens don't lay eggs. Sima Ping's face revealed an excited expression, like a cheerful deer. She skipped to Sun Lang's side and asked in a very obedient and careful manner, let's go. At this moment, she must be feeling nervous and excited, eager to leave this strange and suspicious 100 Herb Garden. She might even be chanting loudly in her heart. Ade, vegetable beds and acacia trees. Ade, stone well railings and mulberry fruits. In short, I don't need to come to this damn place anymore. And with Sun Lang and this godly Dr. Lu's unfriendly relationship, he definitely won't keep me as her disciple. In other words, I'm liberated? Liberated? Sun Lang had just reached an agreement with Lu Shujin. The hostile atmosphere between the two eased a little. Hearing this, they both stared blankly and looked at Sima Ping with an inexplicable expression. The girl was scared by their gazes. She took a step back and said submissively, then let's sit for a while. Lu Shujin took a puff of her cigarette and smiled faintly. Ping Yidao's disciple. Interesting. Sun Lang said with a benevolent expression, he's a bit stupid. Please forgive him. Godly Dr. Lu nodded. Since she's going to take over Ping Yidao's mantle, I'll definitely teach her seriously. Sun Lang was like the most qualified parent, nodding repeatedly. Yes, yes, I'll have to trouble you, teacher. As long as she's not obedient, hit her with all your strength. Hit her carefully, and hit harder. Anyway, it's not like she's hitting me. Just hit her until she's obedient. Wait. The smile on Sima Ping's face instantly turned into horror. I still have to acknowledge her as my master? Divine Dr. Lu said faintly. I'm only going to be your teacher. You're Ping Yi Dao's disciple. No one can take this away from you. You don't have to worry, and you don't have to carry any burden. Putting aside your master's actions for the time being, I can't compare to him in terms of his heart. She seemed to be reminiscing about what had happened to Ping Yi Dao. She sighed softly and said, You can just call me Mister. I hope that there will be new medical techniques in this country. Sima Ping felt a little better, but she immediately reacted, Although the man who brought you here is a bastard, his foresight is accurate. If you want to take over your master's mantle, you must shoulder a burden and responsibility that ordinary people can't imagine. Not only do you need an indomitable temperament and a strong spirit, you also need brilliant martial arts and a strong physique. More importantly, you must understand some principles that can support you on your path. Divine Dr. Lu held the pipe in his hand, and a faint pride appeared on his face. Therefore, in this world, I'm the only one who can teach you. Sun Lang stood at the side, lowered his head, and counted with his fingers. Ziegler, Qin Tianshi, Long Air, Corpse Keeper. Divine Dr. Lu's expression stiffened, and a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. He glanced at Sun Lang coldly, but the ranger's skin was thick, and he remained unmoved. She snorted coldly, then took a puff of the pipe and slowly exhaled a mouthful of smoke. The smoke floated in the air and formed the word morning. She said indifferently, I'll give this to you. This is what I wrote down in my early years, and I've always remembered in my heart. Do you know what it means? Sima Ping hesitated. Are you telling me that I need to be diligent in learning medicine? That's where you're wrong. Sun Lang said from the side. Have you heard of the so-called Jianghu rankings? The top 10 masters, the top 10 beauties, the top 10 noble clans, the top 10 young masters. You, Mr. Liu, have a deep hatred for these vulgar and melodramatic rankings. So he wrote a big 10 sons to protest and condemn the exaggerated and melodramatic style of the martial arts world today. He nodded as he spoke, and then added in a low voice, Of course, this has nothing to do with her being ranked 11th in the Divine Doctor's Book of Rejuvenation. The veins on Lu Shujin's forehead bulged. She felt that she could no longer tolerate this idiot, so she said sternly, Sun Lang glanced at her. Sooner or later, I'll be angered to death by you. Lu Shujin patted her chest hard to calm down and rolled her eyes at Sun Lang. She waved her hand and said, Leave my student here, and you can scram. Only then did Sima Ping remember that she was going to be left here by Sun Lang, left in this gloomy and terrifying 100-herb garden, and accompanied by this mysterious new teacher who was actually not on good terms with Sun Lang. In an instant, her heart was filled with panic and fear, and Sun Lang's image in her heart had become unprecedentedly warm and lofty. In an instant, she had an infinite attraction to him. The little girl looked at Sun Lang as if she had seen a family member and threw herself at him, her acting skills reaching their limits. I don't want. Sun Lang, I can't bear to part with you. Don't leave me. Sun Lang very nimbly dodged to the side and pretended to wipe his tears. Be good, the ending of your father's marriage. When you grow up for another 2 years, we'll play again. You're still young now. Study hard and improve every day. Sima Ping looked at his annoying appearance and was furious. She said angrily, You're still betting with her with Sir? You two haven't even determined who's the enemy yet, and you dare to leave me here alone? Do you still have a conscience? Sun Lang said quietly in a voice that everyone could hear. Chill. The wind is too soft. Don't talk. I'm placing you by her side as a spy to gather information. The girl was so angry that she wanted to kick him. Spy your head. If she has any evil intentions, even if there are 10 of me, I'll still die. Don't worry, you won't die. Sun Lang said seriously. Think about it. From now on, you don't want to stay by your teacher's side and want to stay in Liu Town's hotel. Think about it. There have been so many troubles in this town recently. Aren't you afraid of being targeted by some dirty things? Sima Ping said loudly. I can follow you first. Sun Lang waved his hand. Go, go, go. We're going to kill people and set fires. A child like you following us. Aren't you afraid of being scared? I'm afraid I'll also be scared if I stay here. The ranger sighed. Sigh. I really don't know what to do with you. Children are too troublesome. How about this? Aren't you just scared? How about this? You continue to learn from your teacher, and I'll let Chow Patao protect you. Okay? The girl hesitated for a moment, but when she remembered Zhao Yunlong's unreasonable fighting power, she immediately relaxed. Oh, okay. Lu Shujin sneered slightly. So that's what you're thinking. If you want Zhao Yunlong to monitor me, just say it. Oh, it's good that you don't mind. Sun Lang waved his hand. Chow Patao, from now on, you're in charge of monitoring Miracle Dr. Lu. If she comes into contact with any suspicious people, immediately shoot and tie them up. If she does anything suspicious, immediately check and make a copy. When she's teaching students, you can search her study to see if there's anything useful. That's enough. Lu Shujin said angrily. Don't go too far. Sun Lang stretched lazily. It's a gambling competition, so why don't we each use our own methods? If you're not convinced, you can also send someone to monitor me. I'm very happy to do so. Miracle Dr. Lu took a deep breath and shouted, Black King, follow him and monitor him. Who was the Black King? Sun Lang had just thought of this when he saw the snake beauty cautiously poke her head out from behind Lu Shujin, looking at him with eyes full of fear. So it was He Xiandang. Sun Lang immediately showed a sunny, gentle, and kind smile. Hello. The snake beauty screamed and slithered back. She shivered and said, I'm going to be made into snake soup. Lu Shujin couldn't help but feel angry. Then she saw Zhao Yunlong swagger over with a gun. He stood not far from her and stared at her motionlessly. When he saw her looking over, he immediately raised his eyes and showed a look that said, What do you want? His attitude was wild and his expression was repulsive. He was practically carved out of the same mold as Sun Lang. There was indeed a world of difference between pets. There seemed to be something wrong, but, Black King, I still have to wrong you a little. Fortunately, although this guy's mouth is full of joy, he's actually a coward. At most, he'll scare you and tease you, but he won't really do anything to you. So she reached out and grabbed the snake beauty. She glared at her and said fiercely, This is an order. Follow this man and see what he's doing. Then come back and report to me, understand? Sun Lang was also teaching Zhao Yunlong the skills of undercover surveillance in all seriousness. First, smash her study. If you see a vase or bookshelf, don't let them go. The secret passage is most likely there. That's enough. After a series of threats and promises, Lu Shujin finally settled the Black King. The snake beauty looked like she was rushing to the execution ground. With 3 steps, she slowly moved towards Sun Lang. The ranger showed a kind smile, like an uncle next door. He waved and said, Little girl, come. Don't be afraid. I'll tell you a few interesting stories. The Black King said timidly, What stories? Don't be afraid. It's a very good wuxia story. Well, there's a hero called Guo Jing. When he was young, he experienced something that made him almost invulnerable to poison. Do you know what he did? I don't know. Actually, there's another person called Yanghua. When he was young, he also experienced something that greatly increased his internal energy. He could even wield a big piece of metal like a tiger. Do you know what he did? Chapter 253. Sigh. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Although drinking snake blood can make you immune to poison, and eating snake gall can greatly increase your internal energy, I don't need it, I don't need it, I don't need it. I won't go so far as to skin you and bleed you out, or cut open your stomach to take your gall. After telling the story of Hirogua and Yang Longqi, He Xiandang was indeed scared out of her wits. Sun Lang had destroyed the snake's psychological defense, and he said amiably, Then let's change to the story of the King of Fighters, okay? The snake beauty trembled as she protested. Can you not tell stories about snakes? Sigh, you're so troublesome. Sun Lang thought for a moment. Then let's also tell a story about poisonous creatures. There is a second-generation emperor called Duan Yu. He ran very fast. Do you know why he ran so fast? Everyone said that he practiced the wave-like subtle steps, but I don't think so. Practicing martial arts can only be counted as one's own effort, but a person's struggle also depends on the course of history. The ranger said with a serious face, so I think that Duan Yu running so fast has to do with eating the man Guju Ha. This He Xiandang was indeed a beast. Her wisdom was too shallow. She couldn't understand the true essence of the shroud technique, treating all of Sun Lang's brilliant ideas as vulgar words. She said weakly, I don't understand what you're saying. Your storytelling skills are much worse than Master's. Sun Lang snorted. Then tell the story of the salt and pepper snake and the Yu Yang spicy snake. No. Let's talk about this. TSK, so many problems. Watching the man and snake disappear into the darkness one after another. Lu Shujin tapped the cigarette ash, her face full of confusion. I don't know why, but I feel like I've forgotten something very important. She turned to look at Zhao Yunlong, only to find that the world-famous General Zhao was leaning on the barrel of his spear, staring motionlessly at Sun Lang's departing figure, as if he had been abandoned by his master. Seeing this, Dr. Lu shuddered. Hey, do you really have to do this? Zhao Yunlong glanced at Dr. Lu expressionlessly. It's hard to explain this kind of thing to an old woman like you. Lu Shujin gritted her teeth and said, Do you want to fight? Great General Zhao's eyes lit up in an instant. She stabbed her spear into the ground and placed her right hand behind her back as she beckoned to Master Lu. Come. I'll fight with only one hand. Lu Shujin was silent for a moment, then waved to Sima Ping. Let's go. I'll take you to settle down. Sima Ping glanced at Zhao Yunlong, then trotted to catch up with her new teacher, trying to adapt to the role. But when she looked at the gloomy and desolate herb garden, she still felt a burst of panic. Are we going to live here? Of course not. Lu Shujin looked back at the herb garden, her former home. A trace of loneliness and sadness flashed in her eyes. She said softly, Let's go to Samway's study. On Sun Lang's side, he had already left the herb garden with He Xiandang, but he was still talking nonsense with this Orochimaru, telling him some horrible children's stories, impacting the other party's pure three views in young heart. Ryo Luji, Orochimaru. Damn it, why are they all a little Japanese? Oh, then let's talk about Liu Bang's story. He Xiandang realized the similarities between these stories. It seems that in the stories you tell, all the snakes have to be killed. So it's like that. Sun Lang thought for a moment. Then let's talk about a story that won't be killed. How about the story of Su Xian? I can still feel a terrible malice coming. TSK, your nose is really sharp. Sun Lang said loudly. How about the disaster of the python? Not so good. Sun Lang said angrily. This won't do. That won't do. You can't expect me to tell the story of the boy python. What is this? A pure fairy tale. Sun Lang coughed twice. After a long time of foreshadowing, he finally revealed his true colors. You don't like listening to my stories. How about you tell me a few stories? It had to be said that the snake beauty was an inexperienced monster with very simple values. She was no match for a cunning and despicable human being like Sun Lang. Hearing his words, she walked into the trap like a fool. I don't know how to tell stories, Sun Lang said kindly. You're wrong. You have to know that art comes from life. Stories aren't made up. Instead, they are based on experiences. After a certain degree of artistic processing, they become wonderful stories, that is to say. He Xiandang asked in confusion. You're talking about Ryo Luji, Orochi, and so on. Sun Lang didn't even blink his eyes. He said proudly, Yes, I defeated Orochi with Iori Yagami and rubbed my Shiranui's chest by the way. I killed Ryo Luji with Zhuge Liang and rubbed Yao Chan's chest by the way. Amazing, He Xiandang praised. But why did you rub her chest by the way? Because I like it, But that's not the point, Sun Lang said mysteriously. So do you understand? You could tell your own story, the story of you and your master. Well, the snake beauty thought hard and then shook her head. No, my master just whispered to me in snake language that I can't reveal anything about her and the herb garden. Cunning, cunning, but this was expected. Sun Lang rolled his eyes and came up with a plan. No problem. Let's not talk about the herb garden and your master. Let's talk about other people's stories. The snake beauty asked in a daze. Other people's stories? Whose stories? Anyone's stories, Sun Lang said in a relaxed tone. Haven't you seen other people in your life? Yes, yes. He Xian Dang counted on his fingers. A fierce fat uncle, a crazy old woman, a bad guy with a fork. I know a lot of people. Sun Lang's smile became meaningful. That's amazing. Come, let's talk as we walk. The Sandway study was only half a mile away from the 100-her garden, but the difference was like heaven and earth. At least, Sima Ping, who had been worried the entire way, finally relaxed after stepping into the Sandway study after being nervous for an entire night. The night in the Sandway study wasn't gloomy, only tranquil. The small garden, the small flower bed, everything was exquisite and peaceful. Most importantly, it didn't have the desolation and silence of the herb garden. Here, there was the smell of people. Lu Shujin closed the dark bamboo door and suddenly realized, not good. Zhao Yunlong turned his head in surprise. What's wrong? Master Lu stomped his feet and said, I miscalculated. I only told the Black King not to reveal anything about me in the herb garden, but I forgot to tell her not to listen to anything Sun Lang says, and not to believe anything Sun Lang says. This is bad. She's so stupid. In less than half a day, Sun Lang will coax her into spilling everything. Zhao Yunlong shook his head and said, just this? Even if you say it, it's useless. I advise you to give up and tell the truth. You'll lose sooner or later. Divine Dr. Lu said angrily, I'm not like you. I'm not reserved at all. Zhao Yunlong looked at her with a smile that wasn't a smile, and then sighed softly. I was reserved back then, and then? I don't even know how I survived these 2 years. I could only practice martial arts, train soldiers, eat, and sleep without any free time. Because when I'm free, I'll let my imagination run wild. Once I think about it, I'll feel like a piece of my heart is empty. Lu Shujin was startled, and then sighed softly. If you really want what's good for him, you should leave the Empire with him. Go as far as you can. Go to a place where no one knows you and never come back. Why should I? Zhao Yunlong said coldly. He can stay wherever he wants. Sima Ping had already slipped into the house tactfully. She very sensibly lit up the lights and cleaned the house, leaving the space for the 2 older women outside who had stories to tell. The 2 heroes of the celestial origin sector glared at each other coldly for a moment. Lu Shujin said softly, Why bother? Why bother? Zhao Yunlong said decisively, the blood he shed and the pain he suffered back then can't be forgotten just like that. Whatever the Empire owes him, it has to be paid back no matter what. Dr. Lu shook his head with a bitter smile. You know, he doesn't really care about the extravagant lifestyle and the high salary. So you're just going to let it go like that. Zhao Yunlong's expression gradually became as cold as ice. So you want to let it go like that? In just 2 years, how many people still remember him? How many people still mention him? The Empire is tight-lipped about this, and those who know gradually don't mention it, especially a bunch of heartless ingrates. They were indebted to him, but they put on such a front. Do they think that it's okay to just offer incense and kowtow during festivals? To think that they can eat the delicacies? To think that they wear silk and satin comfortably? Lu Shujin saw the change in Zhao Yunlong's expression. Hearing her words, the bitterness on her face grew stronger. She said softly, I see. I'm afraid this isn't your idea alone. You wanted to take back everything that originally belonged to him. Zhao Yunlong said coldly, Do you think this is wrong? Yes. Yes. This is a matter of course. Lu Shujin's eyes revealed a hint of uneasiness. After hesitating for a moment, she said softly, I just feel that The celestial origin sector is indeed slowly splitting. Zhao Yunlong was shocked. What? Dr. Liu said gloomily. The war of the celestial origin sector lasted for decades. Countless noble families were born and established, and many people were conferred the title of Marquis. The martial merits of the celestial origin sector are extremely strong. But 2 years ago, we lost the leader who was nominally accepted by all parties, which planted the seeds of division. The marshals each had their own mountain. They were not subordinate to each other and did not obey each other. In fact, there were already conflicts. The peace that came with the end of the war was obviously intensifying these conflicts. She took a look at Zhao Yunlong and said calmly, "The battle for the crown prince means choosing a side. Everyone has their own agendas, and division is inevitable. But apart from this factor, just like you, there are people who want him to come back, but at the same time, there are also people who want him to never come back. There are all kinds of reasons. I can see that the enormous heavens origin sector is slowly collapsing. Everyone has their own plans. Moreover, General Zhao, perhaps what happened in the War of the Great Desolate Mountain might be beyond our imagination. It might even have caused a serious enough impact on the imperial throne that has lasted for hundreds of years." Zhao Yunlong asked in a low voice, "What happened?" "I don't know, but I'm sure that, apart from Sun Lang, there must be someone else who knows." Lu Shujin chuckled. "I want to figure it out myself. But now that he is here, maybe." She looked at the dark sky where a few stars were shining. "Fine, let's take the risk." Chapter 254. In Master Lu's mind, Sun, who was shouldering some kind of historical mission, didn't have the self-awareness of being in the center of big news. He didn't consider himself as a successor of feudalism at all. Through coaxing and deceiving, he easily got a lot of suspicious and important clues out of the snake beauty's mouth. It was just that this snake was ignorant and stupid. After all, what she knew was limited, and it was very messy and disorganized. Sun Lang needed to sort it out and summarize it himself. But this was already an unexpected gain. As for now, Uncle Sun waved his fist. "It's time to repay the dang country. Let's go and knock down the Kong family store." As a simple monster, the snake beauty couldn't keep up with Sun Lang's train of thought. "Knock down what?" Sun Lang turned his head and smiled mysteriously. "Just follow me." If they wanted to find out the truth behind the many strange things in Lu Town, Second Master Kong was naturally the first to bear the brunt. As the saying went, there must be a demon when things are abnormal. Then the most strange thing was most likely the key point in this big news. This Kong Zhongwu was a martial artist in dire straits before, but in such a short time, he actually became an expert with extraordinary martial arts and wisdom. This was simply the most illogical thing. There must be a problem. Moreover, Sun Lang thought of the old monk and the flying centipede he had just met in the herb garden. The centipede had replaced the spine and parasitized the human body. Through its countless legs, it had affected the nerves and made the deceased look lifelike, as if it was controlling a puppet. At first, I thought that the transformation of Kong Zhongwu and the others was like Miss Zhao, being possessed by the spirit of the demonic weapon. But at that time, I was confused because I didn't sense the aura of the demonic weapon on Kong Zhongwu's body. Now, it seems that perhaps something more interesting has happened. The Snake Beauty had no idea what Sun Lang was thinking. However, since her master had ordered her to keep a close eye on this terrifying human, she naturally had to do her best to complete the task. Although he was very, very scary, scarier than any demon she had seen before. Although Lu Town was a big town, it was still lonely in the middle of the night. At this hour, regardless of whether they had a wife or not, almost all of them were curled up under their blankets and doing something indescribable. The only difference was whether they were doing it on their own or on behalf of others. Therefore, there were only two figures walking along the river in the night wind. The surroundings were dark and windy, cold and empty. The willows swayed, and strange whimpering sounds came from the air. In this dark and strange atmosphere, it was enough to make ordinary people feel cold. Unfortunately, These two guys, one was a monster, and the other was a pervert who couldn't wait for a monster to jump out to relieve his boredom. So they were completely unaffected. Sun Lang thought about something as he walked. He turned around and said, Hey Xiandang, my name is Black King." The Snake Beauty was stunned for a moment before she protested in dissatisfaction. "Although I don't know what this weird name of yours means, I feel that it's not good." Sun Lang snorted. "Crazy, then we'll call it, and don't call me Orochimaru." The ranger shrugged. "Then Snake Meat?" The Snake Beauty trembled and said vigilantly, "Why do you have to call me that?" Sun Lang said proudly, "You don't understand, right? This is a joke from the Radiation series." Snake Meat said helplessly, "Although I really don't understand, I also don't understand what you have to be proud of." This reptilian snake monster's ability to ridicule has increased so quickly. Sun Lang's biggest pain point as an otaku transmigrator was poked by her words. He became a little angry out of humiliation and said gloomily, "You're not allowed to call me that, right? Do you want to live up to your name? Do you want to become Snake Meat or Hey Xiandang?" The Snake Beauty immediately became terrified and said honestly, Okay, you can call me whatever you want." Sun Lang nodded in satisfaction. Suddenly, he changed the topic and asked as if nothing had happened, "By the way, how did you get caught by that flying centipede? Aren't you good friends with the monsters of the Her Garden?" The Snake Beauty had just been confused by Sun Lang's nonsense and was completely unprepared. When Sun Lang directly brought up the embarrassing matter of being caught by the flying centipede, she immediately became angry and loudly denied. "Who is friends with that group of monsters?" "Oh, you disobedient little pet." Sun Lang's tone was disdainful. "Your master has such a good relationship with the boss of the Her Garden, but behind her back, you're secretly fighting and killing with the little brothers of the Her Garden. You're really disobedient and not loyal enough." This sentence directly pointed at the Snake Beauty's professionalism and moral character as a monster pet. She absolutely couldn't accept it. Hey Xiandang said discontentedly, "You human, how can you speak nonsense? How can Master be good friends with those weirdos?" Okay, as expected, there really was someone behind the Her Garden's crazy dance of demons. But what was their goal? No matter who it was, why would they come to an ordinary town in the eastern Sui province just to turn a garden into a breeding ground for demons? What kind of spirit was this? Moreover, the family that this garden belonged to had produced a rather famous Tianyuan martial merit. Why did they have the guts to make a move against the Liu family? If Liu Shujin made a scene, there were many generals who had received her grace and been treated by her in the past. As long as a few of those damned Qiuba stood up to support Master Liu, this matter would be blown up and the mastermind behind the scenes would have to bear the consequences. But they clearly knew this and still did it. It was impossible that they didn't know Liu Shujin's identity. Then there were only two possibilities left. The first possibility was that they were confident that they had enough strength, power, and assurance to stifle Liu Shujin's resistance. Or they had grasped some kind of crucial weakness that was enough to make Liu Shujin not dare to make a big deal out of this matter. As for the second possibility, a trace of cold light flashed through his eyes. "Oh, godly Dr. Liu, you must not disappoint me. As for now, let's set our sights on Kong Zhongwu first." As he thought of this, his gaze toward He Xiandang became more and more amiable. So easy to coax, so simple, so childish, and so young. At this moment, he almost wanted to say something like, "Little Tian, bah, Snake Meat is the purest and kindest girl I've ever seen." He had never seen such a hostile quest NPC who had her heart facing the sun. Thinking of this, Sun Lang said in a gentle tone, "Then let's talk about the flying centipede first." The Snake Beauty frowned. The flying centipede was her natural enemy. Even mentioning it made her feel uncomfortable. She originally didn't want to talk about that annoying guy, but the situation was not in her favor. Because about 2 to 4 hours ago, the creature in front of her had replaced the so-called flying centipede and became Miss Black King's new greatest natural enemy. And it was probably the kind that hadn't been shaken for hundreds of years, so she still curled her lips, and an impatient expression appeared on her face. "Why are you talking about it? Isn't it already dead?" Yeah, but don't you monsters like to give birth to a nest in your lifetime? Sun Lang said earnestly, does it have any brothers, sisters, aunts, grandfathers, grandmothers, or anything like that? Isn't it all mentioned in novels? If you hit the young one, a nest of the old one will jump out. Tell me in advance if there are any powerful characters in his family. It's better to be prepared. Ah, the snake beauty tilted her head and imagined dozens of flying centipedes gathered together to stare at her. She couldn't help but scream and shake her head like a rattle drum. How can there be so many of them? I've fought with him many times, and I've always been at a disadvantage. Even if he only had one brother, if he called for help, I would have been dead long ago. According to the setting, shouldn't a powerful centipede demon have 7 beautiful spider demon sisters? Sun Lang touched his chin and muttered, You've never met one. Is it because they're rare and difficult to cultivate? He asked a few more questions about the flying centipedes. Unfortunately, He Xiandang gradually became obedient. It touched on the forbidden matters that Master Lu had warned him about, so it shook its head like a rattle drum and refused to say anything. Sun Lang couldn't get any useful clues, so he smiled and gave up. Whether or not the flying centipedes could be mass-produced, how difficult it was to cultivate them, and whether or not they could control people perfectly, he would wait until he got to Kong Zhongwu's house. He would drag him out and knock him to the ground, then take off his clothes and study it. Thinking of this, he glanced at He Xiandang again. Seeing that Sun Lang didn't press it step by step or even torture it, the snake demon seemed to be relieved. It patted its chest softly and murmured something like, Master, don't worry. I won't say a word even if I die. You're my milk. The two of them didn't talk anymore. They quickened their pace and walked toward Kong Zhongwu's house. As for the address of this second Master Kong's house, Sun Lang looked around in the afternoon. Other than despising the vulgarity of the sex industry in Lu Town, he also investigated the location of a few key locations for this quest. Aside from the Her Garden, he also investigated the location of Second Master Kong's and Xia Agui's mansions. Now that he had memorized it, even without an NPC to guide him at night, his journey was very smooth. Not long after, Second Master Kong's house was in front of him. This is it. Sun Lang glanced at the luxurious residence that was comparable to the 100 Herb Garden and clicked his tongue. He really knows how to enjoy life. This second Master Kong is like a salted fish turning over a new leaf, yet he doesn't forget to treat himself badly. I wonder which family he forcefully bought this residence from. He Xiandang didn't understand these things and didn't care much about the extravagance and ostentation of humans. She blinked and asked, Aren't we going in? Are we going to knock on the door? Wait a minute. Sun Lang said in deep thought. I'm considering whether to use Master AI's method or Master Kang's method to enter. I got it. He glanced at the muddle-headed snake beauty and a wisp of, I'm going to trick someone flashed across his eyes. He waved his hand and said, This time, we'll use Musashi's method to enter. It's decided on you, Big Rock Snake. Go straight in and tell them that the Pokemon trainer is here. Chapter 255. Obviously, the giant rock snake didn't understand Sun Lang's words. It blinked its eyes and stared at him. My name has changed again. Also, what are you talking about? Sun Lang frowned. Are you stupid? Can't you understand such simple words? Simply put, first you use evil snake winding and hit this door into the sky. At the same time, I'll make a hand seal. We'll use the psychic technique together and pretend to be ninjas to attack. Then I'll arrange a battle strategy. Specifically, when I yell Evil Snake Wrist Explosion, you'll do this and this. When I yell Lugia, you'll do this and this. After listening for a while, He Xiandang became more and more confused. However, she realized something with her sharp beast intuition. So, why am I the only one fighting? Or rather, why should I help you fight? Nonsense, if you didn't fight, how could I put the blame on your master? If I didn't let the mastermind think that Master Lu was causing trouble, why would they send people to question her? If they didn't send people to question her, how could Chao Patao act according to the situation? The simple He Xindang obviously didn't know that Sun Lang had such a complicated plan in his mind. However, this snake wasn't too stupid. She protested. Master asked me to monitor you. He didn't ask me to be your fighter. Therefore, she wasn't too stupid, but she was still stupid in the end. It seems that you don't understand the value of life. Sun Lang smiled gloomily. I'll give you one more chance. Are you going to fight or not? I won't. The snake beauty was about to refuse loudly, but she suddenly saw Sun Lang's smiling face become 3 times friendlier than before. Then, she instantly realized what it meant to say that the situation was beyond her control. Master, I feel bitter in my heart. A moment later, the silent night in the Kong mansion was broken by a thunderous explosion. A huge black python swung its head and tail. With a brutal charge, it broke a part of the thick red door. Wood shards mixed with the door knocker flew everywhere, and the momentum was terrifying. There was also a huge snake that anyone could tell at first glance that it was a monster, and it made the atmosphere even more terrifying. But compelling Shadow Ninja, who had summoned the snake spirit, was clearly not satisfied with the result. Sun Lang listened to the screams that rang out after a moment of silence. He frowned as he looked at the half-smashed door and shook his head. Did you not eat today? Why can't you smash the door properly? Hei Xian's sweeping snake coiled its body and tilted its head, looking down at Sun Lang from above. It actually rolled its eyes in a very human-like manner, looking very interesting. At the same time, Hei Xian's sweeping snake's dissatisfied voice sounded in Sun Lang's ears. Do you think this is a rammed mud wall? It's very hard, and it's very painful. It's easy to talk while sitting. If you're so good, why don't you do it? Sun Lang shrugged, picked up a small stone from the ground, and threw it at a high wall to the left of the door like a naughty child skipping on water. A series of sharp cracking sounds rang out. Hei Xian's sweeping snake's dynamic vision was very amazing. It clearly saw an ordinary-looking small stone pass through the thick air and hit the hard and thick wall with a whistling sound. Then it saw that the wall was like a surface of water, spreading out like a spiderweb of ripples. Following that, a rumbling sound like a landslide rang out continuously. Like a domino, one of the walls of the Kong mansion collapsed with a loud bang. Hei Xian's sweeping snake froze in midair. Its flexible and boneless snake body seemed to have stiffened. It turned around bit by bit, looking at the broken wall that was filled with dust, then turned back around bit by bit, looking at Sun Lang. Then it saw that Sun Lang was squatting on the ground, looking around for a suitable stone. Although snakes were cold-blooded animals, it still felt cold all over. Thus, it exerted strength in its body and soared into the air, scuttling into the courtyard of the Kong mansion. At this time, the people of the Kong mansion who heard the commotion had already rushed out. First, they saw that the courtyard wall had already collapsed, and then they saw the black python shaking its head and swinging its tail at the sky, roaring. Every one of them felt their hair stand on end, and the more timid ones were already scared to the point of shouting, "Someone come! Someone come quickly!" A big black snake broke the courtyard wall and rushed in to eat people. That wasn't me. Hei Xian's sweeping snake was furious in its heart. It swept its tail and hit the person right in the middle. That person let out a blood-curdling scream and flew dozens of feet away, like riding on a cloud, and fell to the ground, wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. There was no lack of thugs among the people who came out to protect the courtyard. Although they were very good at brandishing their spears and sticks, they were still just mortals. If it was a strong person who broke into the mansion to plunder, perhaps they would be able to bravely brandish their spears and swords to fight. However, when faced with this kind of terrifying snake demon with a monstrous aura, they were already somewhat timid. How could they have the strength to fight? One after another, they let out a shout and fled to the backyard, shouting loudly, "Quickly go and protect the master's treasured family. Escort them away first." Sun Lang walked in from the main door and was stunned when he heard this. So disorderly. Where's Kong Zhongwu? He looked around a few times, picked a brother that he had a good impression of, and casually pointed at him. "Catch him for me." This time, Hei Xian's sweeping snake learned her lesson. She didn't say stupid things like, "Master didn't make me your lackey." Hearing this, she swept her tail, coiled around the target's waist, pulled him over, and threw him to the ground. Good girl. Sun Lang waved his hand. Go and smash everything. Smash everything that's empty. Let me teach you a lesson. Roll a tree or a pillar and hit it. It's much more efficient than using your tail and head to smash it. This move is called big snakes don't die from their tails. Therefore, a moment later, the people who fled to the backyard looked back and found that the snake demon had coiled around a thick and long pillar and was smashing everywhere, like a battering ram, smashing one house after another until it was on the verge of collapse. Bricks and tiles flew everywhere. They couldn't help but cry out in pain. Protecting Master Kong's treasured family to escape to the back door, Sun Lang squatted beside the man who had won the prize and smiled. Brother, what's your mother's surname? The man was coiled and thrown by He Xian's sweeping snake, and he groaned in pain. He was originally scared out of his wits, thinking that he was going to become the snake demon's snack. He didn't expect that the snake demon didn't seem to be interested in him, but rather liked the construction and demolition industry. Just when he was relieved, he found an evil-looking guy squatting beside him. On such a dark and windy night, he walked with a terrifying snake demon. No matter how he looked at it, the guy in front of him looked like a big monster. His heart was in his throat again, and he cried hurriedly, "Spare me, my king. Spare me. My skin is rough and my flesh is thick. I'm not delicious. Who the F***CK wants to eat you?" Sun Lang rolled his eyes. Beauties with breasts, long legs, and perky buttocks are delicious. Yes, yes, yes. The man hurriedly chimed in, looking sincere and sincere. Beauties are delicious. Beauties are delicious. Their skin is smooth, and their bodies are so tender that you can pinch water out of them. Especially their buttocks and breasts. They are round and wobbly. It will definitely be exciting to bite them. This humble one's sour flesh is neither pleasing to the eye nor to the mouth. He acted so well and spoke so hard. It seemed that even if Sun Lang said that shit was delicious, he would definitely nod and agree, and then analyze the nutritional value of that thing in detail. After pretending to be elegant for a while, the man seemed to still feel insecure and suggested in a low voice, "If my king is hungry, my master has a few beauties who probably haven't run far. How about I take you to chase after them?" Sun Lang smiled. "Looks like your loyalty isn't that high. Could this be what kind of master would have a servant?" "Yes, yes, 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 yes." The man nodded like he was pounding garlic. "I'm not a thing, and my master is even less of a thing. He was a martial artist who had fallen on hard times before, but who knows where he learned a set of evil martial arts. Once he gained power, he became even worse than the tyrants of this town, and he's even worse than them. He extorted, occupied, and forcefully bought land, passing off shoddy goods as good. He's vicious and merciless, and while the Liu family was arrogant and overbearing before, they were still humans for better or worse. That Rash Kong's actions after gaining power are worse than animals. Tut, tut, tut. Sun Lang kept nodding. "Brother, you're a man who understands the situation. I won't say much, but where's Kong Zhongwu?" The man looked troubled and was unsure what to say when a dark voice suddenly rang out. "Hey, there's someone in the biggest house. What should we do? Smash it? Could it be Second Elder Kong? How bold!" Sun Lang smiled, rose to his feet, and gestured at the man. "Come, meet your master." The man forced himself to his feet and watched as Sun Lang headed for the main hall. His eyes darted around, but he did not dare to run in the end. Gritting his teeth, he jogged after him and whispered, "Your Majesty, forgive me for speaking bluntly, but the one inside isn't Kong Zhongwo? Then who is it?" Sun Lang came to the door of the main hall and kicked open the door. He saw that it was brightly lit inside, and there was still tea on the table that was still emitting white steam. There were some dried fruit crumbs and shells scattered on the ground. It was already past midnight, but the people here were still awake. What were they doing? His gaze turned to the side where the answer lay. A man with disheveled hair was hanging in the air and riddled with wounds. There was even a pool of blood on the floor, and it was clear that he had been hung up and beaten. Sun Lang took a closer look and asked, "Who's this big brother who hangs himself from the southeastern branch? Why is he here?" The man who understood the situation immediately replied, "Your Majesty, this is the head of the He family." Kong Zhongwu asked this Mr. He for his family's martial arts manual, but after he was rejected, he found an opportunity to secretly capture him and brought him back to his residence. He was severely tortured, and even after half the night, he still wouldn't spit out a single word. Sun Lang smiled and said, "Then where's the mighty and domineering second Elder Kong?" The man lowered his head and said, "I dare not lie to you. When you're torturing the head of the He family, I was also there. Just an hour ago, Kong Zhongwu was still personally interrogating the head of the He family." Suddenly, someone knocked on the door to deliver a message. Kong Zhongwu had a secret conversation with this person and then left in a hurry. Before he left, he instructed us to continue the interrogation, but be careful not to kill him. Sun Lang looked at him and found that he was not lying. A strange light flashed in his eyes. Is this a coincidence, or... Chapter 256. At this time, it had only been an hour since Sun Lang visited the Hunter Garden and met divine Dr. Liu. In other words, when the paladin was arguing with Master Liu, the second master of the Kong family, who was happily beating up the head of the He family and complaining about how snatching the secret manual was considered snatching, suddenly received a mysterious visitor and left in a hurry without saying anything. Sun Lang and He Xiandang, who came to the door, found nothing. Whether this was a coincidence or something fishy, Sun Lang only needed to find another person to confirm it. Xia Gui was the lucky one who took over the Zhao family's business in Lu Town. He rose to power at almost the same time as Kong Zhongwu. Their paths to becoming rich were shockingly similar. In the past, they were both insignificant people who were not worth mentioning. But one day, they suddenly gained amazing skills and ruthless methods. While they talked and laughed, they swallowed up the local aristocratic family that had been in Lu Town for generations. If this was a preemptive plan of the opponent, Kong Zhongwu would run away in the night, and Xia Gui would most likely do the same if there was really something wrong with him. Let's go to Wei Zhuang. He Xiandang turned back to her human form, and there was still some excitement on her face. It seemed that the demolition just now had given her a lot of excitement, as if she had opened the door to a new world. Hopefully, this good girl wouldn't be led astray. Wait. The security guard of the Kong family who had abandoned the dark for the light glanced at the head of the He family, who was still hanging in the air, and stammered, My king, what should we do with Mr. He? Send him back." Sun Lang waved his hand. "In my opinion, this kind of side quest will most likely give you some bottle caps and experience points. It won't even give you a lousy gun. Take the quest reward and go whore yourself." Bottle caps? Gun? The security guard was dumbfounded. He glanced at the head of the He family, who was swaying on the beam and was about to cry. "Send him back. I also had a part in whipping him. How would I dare to do that? Then it's none of my business." Sun Lang laughed. "In any case, my spiritual beast has already memorized your scent. Even if you hide in a cellar, I'll be able to find you. You should understand." After saying that, the man and the snake floated away and disappeared into the night. In the blink of an eye, the Kong residence, which had been incomparably noisy, like an earthquake, and where demons ran amok, had become completely silent. Only the broken walls remained, and it was incomparably desolate. One of the walls had collapsed, and half of the main door was broken. The front courtyard of the residence had basically turned into ruins. It was really unknown what Second Master Kong would think when he returned and saw such a scene. Still, all of that had nothing to do with the security guard. A fierce glint flashed in his eyes as he glanced at the hanging head of the Kong family, which was soon replaced by fear. In that brief moment, his heart was torn between heaven and man, and after struggling for who knows how long, fear finally triumphed over evil. Clenching his teeth, he slowly put down Mr. He. Damn it, that idiot Kong has committed too many sins to provoke a demon like that. He's definitely not going to live long, so why should I hang myself on this tree? I'll send this fellow back first so that the demon doesn't come looking for trouble with me, and see if I can extort some money from the He family while I'm at it. Even as he thought that, a look of pity flashed across his eyes as he looked around. Damn it, there was no one else in the Kong residence, and it would have been wise to search for some valuables here. Still, I don't know where that idiot Kong and his concubines have hidden the money, and there's no telling if they would turn back if I spend time looking for them. Forget it, forget it. He untied the ropes around Mr. He's body. The man had already fainted because he could not beat him, and was now leaning limply on Mr. He's body. He laughed self-deprecatingly as he carried Mr. He on his back. Damn it, I never thought that I would actually do such a good deed one day. Even so, he immediately sensed that something was not right, but with his mediocre martial arts, he could not deal with such a sudden turn of events. Moments later, he felt a pain in his throat, as if an iron hoop was clasped around his throat. It was actually a hand, thin but strong like an iron clamp. That was when he heard someone say in a low voice beside his ear, "Who saved me?" Mr. He almost pissed himself in fright as he cursed inwardly, deeply regretting that he did not use enough strength when he was torturing the idiot back then, which was why he woke up so quickly. Then he cursed Sun Lang inwardly. That damned old demon really got me killed. But there was no point in cursing anyone now, so he promptly changed his expression and said obsequiously, "Mr. He, save your strength for now. I'll send you home." The iron hoop around his neck tightened once more. "Speak." It's a terrifying demon that brought a huge snake demon and broke into the Kong residence. They seem to be looking for old... No, second fool Kong. They couldn't find him, so they conveniently saved you and then left. With his life hanging by a thread, Mr. He's eloquent 3 times faster than before. He quickly explained the cause and effect of the incident. Mr. He, who had just woken up, did not seem to believe in the demon's story, but Mr. He carried him out so that he could see for himself. The once glorious and imposing Kong residence was now like the aftermath of 2 blue-eyed white dragons rolling in the sheets. It was so messy that it was as if a demolition office had been here. Mr. He was silent for a moment, as if he was thinking about something. After a moment, he nodded and said, Okay. He did not loosen his grip on Mr. He's hand. "Carry me home first. Then I have a task for you. If you do it well, there will be plenty of benefits. Your master, surnamed Kong, won't be able to jump around for long. You should know what to do and know what to do. What's your name?" "Chun Shurcheng." Although Xiaogue had now become a very influential big shot in Lu Town, he did not live in the town. He still lived in Weizhuang, a small village not far from Lu Town. It was said that this was his hometown, the place where he made his fortune. It could be said that it was a geomancy place for him to make a fortune. As the saying went, wealth does not return to one's hometown is like walking in silk clothes at night. He was already wearing silk clothes and directly living in the village. This kind of thinking was very easy to guess. After Second Master Kong made his fortune, he would go to Xining Hotel every few days to drink 2 bowls of wine and eat a plate of fennel beans with a group of short-sleeve gang members. It was nothing more than wanting to see the faces of those who looked down on him and looked down on him in the past. Thus, he could obtain a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction from the onlookers. This Xiaogue most likely had the same thought. Sun Lang knew the way. He rushed through the night and soon arrived at Weizhuang. There were many paddy fields outside the village. They reflected the starlight and the moonlight, making it bright. At this time, it was already the latter half of the night, and there was not a single light in the village. Sun Lang stood at the entrance of the village and squinted his eyes to look around. That house is the biggest. It must be Xiaogue's house. Let's go take a look. Sure enough, there were 2 stone lions in front of the house. The 2 words Xie Residence were hanging high above the door. Sun Lang waved his hand. "Go, electric, venomous dragon." Hei Xiandang, who had won a new title, rolled her eyes and activated the Snake Beauty Warrior transformation. A huge black python stretched its body and let out a terrifying hiss. The operation in the Kong Mansion not long ago had given her quite a bit of combat experience, and she had learned the beginner siege skill. At this time, She directly coiled around a tree beside the Xia mansion and used an earth totem on it. With a loud bang, the main gate of the Xia mansion flew out and rushed all the way to the backyard. Sun Lang shaded his eyes with his hand and watched the two door planks smash into the backyard of the Xia residence. Then boom, bright fire dispelled the darkness of the night. A fireball exploded, and the explosion sent mud and tiles flying in all directions. Sun Lang blinked his eyes. Damn, what's going on? When did you learn the fire enchantment? He Xiandang was also shocked. Snakes instinctively rejected this kind of strong light and loud sound. But before she could answer, another loud sound followed. The two of them were stunned by this sudden turn of events. Before they could figure out the situation, they suddenly heard a shout coming from the direction of the backyard. Following that, dozens of fireballs swayed in the night sky, drawing a stunning arc in the sky, falling from the sky, falling into the Xia residence. The ranger bit his finger. Damn, Voldemort is attacking the city? What Voldemort? He Xiandang was still in her snake form. She stood high and could see far. Her night vision was very good. She took a closer look and said with disdain, "Those are torches. There are many people behind, and they're throwing torches in." Sun Lang was at a complete loss. What's the situation? Could it be the unruly people causing trouble? Then, he heard a loud shout from behind him. The voice was old but powerful. There's no problem in this world that a sky tremor bomb can't solve. If there is, then throw two. Today, this old man has brought all the sky tremor bombs I've bought. Children, fellow villagers, throw them in. Today, I give up this house, and I want you, Xia Ague, to die. There were indeed a lot of people gathered at the back. When they heard the words, they made a lot of noise. Then, black items of justice fell from the sky, making a series of explosions. The torches set the house ablaze, and there seemed to be a lot of items hidden in the house to ignite the fire. Fireballs kept bursting out, and the flames were like terrifying demons, devouring the house, making crackling sounds. In an instant, the night sky was lit up, and the flames soared into the sky. It was extremely conspicuous in the dark night. However, even with such a big fire, no one in the village came to save the house. It could be seen that the house owner's popularity was terrible. Clearly, the villagers are true proletarian revolutionaries. They are brave enough to fight against the evil landlord class. Sun Lang looked at the burned Xia residence. He had never seen Xia Ague before, but he had seen Kong Zhongwu. If Xia Ague's martial arts were on par with that of Kong Zhongwu, he would definitely not be able to escape the sea of fire. But He Xiandang stared at the burning camp for a moment and suddenly said, "There's no one inside." Sun Lang nodded. "Sure, don't make a fuss. Let's wait for a while and see how things develop." Chapter 257. This is really strange, one thing after another. He wanted to go to Kong Mansion to catch Kong Zhongwu, but he found out that the other party had already run away. After that, he rushed to Weizhuang to look for Xia Ague, but he encountered a class struggle to overthrow the feudal landlord. Two actions, but both of them caused problems. Was the fire in Weizhuang an accident, or was it part of the enemy's conspiracy? Sun Lang stood outside the Xia Manor, feeling the rolling heat coming from the front. Regardless of whether this fire was a conspiracy or a coincidence, the person involved, Xia Ague, was not at the scene of the fire. This was enough to explain some of the problems. The crux of this matter was that Xia Ague was not at home. Was it to avoid him, or was it to avoid the people who set the fire? Just as he was thinking about what to do next, he heard the old man behind him shouting, "Everyone, spread out and surround this place. It's better to be safe than sorry. Don't let this thief take the opportunity to escape." The people responded aggressively, and not long after, Sun Lang saw a group of human soldiers with pitchforks and hoes. They shouted with great enthusiasm and surrounded the burning Xia mansion, loudly scolding Xia Ague for his sins. It looked like the FFF group was enforcing the law. Sun Lang did not hide. so he bumped into the people who rushed over. The other party saw someone standing in front of the Xia mansion. Naturally, they were shocked, but when they found out that this guy was not Xia Guwei, they were a little relieved. They waved their weapons and threatened. "Who are you? What are you doing here in the middle of the night? Let's go." The ranger thought for a moment and made up his mind. He stepped forward and said, "Everyone, my surname is Zhou. First name is Sun, known as Sun, a herring fruit user, one of the 3 ninjas of Konoha, known as the Winter Sun Snow Melting Technique, Horse Step Alliance Technique, Shaoli Flying Dagger, Sankai Huanjin Palm, the guardian of Yangcheng, the friend of Nekhthis." A country bumpkin had never seen the world. How could he remember so many nicknames that he didn't understand? The leader waved his pitchfork, but seeing that Sun Lang was a man of Jianghu, he didn't dare to be rude and shouted, "Don't talk nonsense. What are you doing here?" Sun Lang's face was full of righteousness, just like those hot-blooded young heroes who wielded their swords in Jianghu. His eyes shone with the brilliance of a righteous partner as he said, "To tell you the truth, I've been traveling around the world with a sword on my back. When I arrived at Lu Town, I heard that there are 2 major disasters in this town. One of them is the evil Kong Zhongwu, and the other is Xia Agui, who has committed all kinds of evil deeds. My goodness, he even gave me a nickname. When the villagers heard what he said, their hostility dissipated a little. A common enemy could always shorten the distance between them. However, why didn't you Asterisk King come earlier? We all risked our lives to come and burn Xia Agui in the middle of the night. After we were done, you jumped out to punish the evildoers?" Thinking of this, everyone's mood became bad again. Some people even lowered their heads, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. Today, it was old Master Zhao who took the lead to burn Xia Agui. He had planned it for several months, and everyone had put their bloody handprints on it. They wanted to do something big together. Even if Xia Agui deserved to die, it was not a good thing to set fire and kill people. Originally, everyone had a good agreement. Since they were all family, it was easy to unify their statements. Anyway, Xia Agui did deserve to die. Old Master Zhao also promised that every family would get money after the incident, as long as everyone said that Xia Agui set fire to himself. It would be useless even if the government came. However, they didn't expect that this kid would bump into them. If he went outside and talked nonsense, wouldn't it be? Among the villagers, there were a few who were strong and had seen the world. They exchanged glances and were ready to make a move. Since things had come to this, they couldn't let this outsider ruin their plan. They might as well go all the way. Sun Lang pretended not to see it and cupped his hands in salute. As the saying goes, those who are unjust are doomed to destruction. I was planning to rush into the CF family and cut down Xia Agui with my sword, but I didn't expect to have come here in vain. But fortunately, everyone has helped me to take care of this evil creature. The green mountains will not change, and the green water will continue to flow. I will take my leave now and chase after Kong Zhongwu. That guy ran away quickly this time, but it won't be so easy next time. Kong Zhongwu's name caused a commotion among the villagers. Those who were ready to make a move were also shocked. If there was any big news these days, it would spread all over the village within a few days. Everyone had heard of this second Master Kong, who rose to fame as quickly as Xia Agui. Someone asked, could it be that young hero has looked for second Master Kong? Yes. Sun Lang smiled proudly. I used 3 realms Huanjin Palm and split open the door of his house. There was a fierce battle inside, and it was really earth-shattering. Kong Zhongwu was the only one who escaped. What a pity, what a pity. Hei Xian was rolling her eyes at the side. She was still angry, but she didn't dare to say anything. She was the one who put in the effort and took the blame. Why did it become your fault when you were bragging? Everyone couldn't tell if it was true or false. They didn't dare to act rashly. At this moment, an old but excited voice came from behind. It was the old man who was commanding the FFF ceremony. He clapped his hands and praised loudly. Good, good, good. Young hero, punishing evil and killing one in 10 steps. You have the style of an ancient hero. You are really admirable. This old man, Zhao Si, is here to greet you. Sun Lang looked at the man with the help of the firelight. He had white hair and a healthy face. He had a strong body and a white beard. He looked like an old gentleman. Judging from his tone, he should be the old man who had lost his family business to Xia Ague. It seemed that the old man was the one who set Xia Ague on fire. The ranger looked at the old man and immediately showed a fake smile. Old man, you don't have to be so courteous. I am a great hero who serves the country and the people. This is what I should do. Good, good. Young but not arrogant. Humble and self-conceited. Young hero, you have a bright future ahead of you. This old man is old, but I can still see such a young hero. My life is not in vain. The old man's face was full of admiration. He looked like the village chief who was guiding the young hero to fight the devil. He took a few steps forward and said excitedly, Young hero, please accept this old man's kowtow for getting rid of this evil from my Weizhuang. After saying that, the old man actually knelt down and kowtowed. Sun Lang waited for the old man to kneel down and kowtow to the ground. Only then did he step forward with a shocked expression and help the old man up. He put on a helpless expression and said, Wait, old man, where did this come from? The one who burned Xia Ague to death was not me. It was obviously everyone. You are wrong. Xia Ague was not burned to death. Old Master Zhao said loudly, It's obvious that you, young hero Zhou, hated this person so much that you came in with your sword to punish him. You killed this scoundrel in his home, and then burned the Xie family to the ground. Everything was so clean now. Young hero Zhou, you got rid of evil for the people and helped our Weizhuang vent our anger. You are really a true hero. We, the common people, are grateful for this for 5 years. Young hero Zhou was startled at first. Then, anger appeared on his face, and he said, Old man, you are wrong. Although I am not talented, I'm not a liar. Forgive me for not accepting the honor of killing Xia Ague. When I do things, 1 is 1, 2 is 2. If I can't kill Xia Ague, killing Kong Zhongwu will be the same. Young hero. At this moment, the old man suddenly screamed and knelt on the ground again. He grabbed Sun Lang's hand and said, Please have mercy on the hundreds of lives in our Weizhuang. Among the villagers, there were some clever ones who had already understood the old man's plan. They could not help but admire the old man's wit. He was indeed a scholar and an official. So they pulled the people around them and knelt down as well. They shouted, Young hero, please have mercy on the hundreds of lives in our Weizhuang. One after another, people came back to their senses and knelt on the ground. Anyway, they had to kneel when they saw officials, masters, and ancestors. They had to kneel more than 10 times a year. If they could completely solve the trouble of Xia Ague's matter this time, there was no harm in kneeling. It was better than kneeling in the yamen. Some people who were too stupid to understand saw their companions kneeling around them. Their knees went soft, and they also knelt down. Thus, the villagers all knelt down and shouted in unison, Young hero, please have mercy on the hundreds of lives in Weizhuang. Young hero Zhou seemed to be completely confused. He said helplessly, what are you doing? Everyone, please get up, please get up. He Xiandang was hiding behind a tree. He leaned against the trunk and watched the show in confusion. When he heard young hero Zhou's words, he curled his lips in thought. Please get up. You should go and help him up. The old man waited for a while, but Sun Lang did not come to help him. He only heard Sun Lang pacing left and right. What are you doing? Villagers, please explain. Little brats who have never seen the world. Are you scared by this? He still maintained his kneeling position and said in a sorrowful voice, To be honest, young hero, these days, Xia Ague has been harming the villagers even more. We couldn't stand it anymore and took the risk because we couldn't stand it anymore. I know this is arson and murder. It's against the law. It's reasonable that you don't want to take responsibility. Young hero, Zhou said angrily. Who's afraid of the government? Why would I care about a bunch of good-for-nothings? It's just that I've always been magnanimous. If it's not my work, why would I accept it? Yes. Young hero, you're a noble person. It's just that, the old man said sadly, the investigation by the government is secondary. We've already discussed it. When the time comes, we'll just say that the Xie family is on fire and cover it up. It's just that Xie Ague usually has some shady friends in the pugilistic world. Those people are really capable. If they know the truth or come to disturb us, those murderers are inhumane. I'm afraid that if something goes wrong, our village will never have a day of peace again. Maybe the lives of hundreds of people in this village will be at stake. He said sorrowfully, "Young hero, you said that these murderers want to stand up for Xie Ague and come to trouble us, the common people. How can we cover it up?" Young hero Zhou said angrily, "A bunch of scoundrels. How dare they?" Hearing this, old Zhao lowered his head and revealed a deep smile. He had fallen into the trap. At the same time, Sun Lang stood in front of the burning Xie residence. He lowered his head and looked at the crowd kneeling before him. A smile appeared on his face. "Idiot, good acting." Chapter 258. The Jianghu Wanderer brother-son had a cordial meeting with the squire old Master Zhao, and they reached a consensus of friendly cooperation and communication. A Beethoven deal that was not known to outsiders was thus completed. In close negotiations, young hero Zhou expressed that he always insisted on taking the blame for himself and fighting for his plane. He opposed unscrupulous speculation and fabrication of facts. However, considering the difficulties faced by the working people of Weizhuang, he was appropriately flexible and actively adjusted. For the fundamental interests of the working people, he tearfully accepted the honor that did not belong to him and admitted that he had killed Xie Ague, the tyrant of Weizhuang, just to ensure that the people of Weizhuang would not be retaliated against. "I'm using my own way to protect my beloved Weizhuang." Sun Lang held Elder Zhao's hand with tears in his eyes during the cordial conversation with the representative of the people of Weizhuang, fourth Mr. Zhao, expressing his position and attitude. Elder Zhao looked at the burning Xie family. The fire seemed to be burning for a long time, so he kindly invited young hero Zhou to his house to rest. When the fire was extinguished at dawn, he would find Xie Ague's body and deal with it. Sun Lang immediately agreed and expressed his vision of sharing joy with the people. He also promised that he would never touch the needles and thread in Elder Zhao's house. He Xiandang followed Sun Lang into the room in a daze. The maid lit the lamp and left after a bow. Sun Lang sat on the soft bed and stretched. Just in time to catch up on sleep, the snake Beauty frowned. "That old man is up to no good." The ranger took off his shoes and turned over to lie on the bed. He stretched his body and smiled. "Nonsense, you obviously want me to be the scapegoat. Mother asterisk cur, old ruffians from the countryside. You want to show off your acting skills with me? Today, I will beat you at your own game and teach you how to fall down hard. Anyway, you should take the opportunity to rest. When the Xie family is finished burning and the fire is extinguished, they will find that Xie Ague did not die in the fire. Then they will be busy." "Oh." He Xiandang did not understand and nodded. Then he looked around. Where am I going to sleep?" Sun Lang immediately grabbed the blanket and tightly held it in front of his chest. He cautiously moved back a few times on the bed. You better not come up." The snake had been with Master Lu for some time, so it still had the most basic sense of shame. It spat at Master Lu's words. "Master specifically told me not to let you take advantage of me. She told me that if you dare to mess around and do this to me, I'll suddenly turn back in my original form when you're most absorbed in it." Sun Lang imagined it for a moment. With a lewd smile on his face, he pressed this naturally seductive banshee under his body, enjoying her exquisite figure, soft waist, and supple skin. Suddenly, she turned into a black, thick, long, and F*King flexible pillar. That kind of feeling was more complicated than F*King a dog. Good. Fortunately, Bai Sujin was kind. Otherwise, Su Xian would be finished. He felt a chill run down his spine. Although he had no interest in this snake monster, he still wanted to accuse and condemn Master Lu's vicious heart. Sun Lang cast a sideways glance at the snake monster who seemed to be very proud of himself. As a man, how should he arrange the sleeping arrangements when a man and a woman were in the same room? A man like a beast would suggest that the two of them sleep on the same bed. A man worse than a beast would suggest that the woman sleep on the bed and he sleep on the floor. As a man among men, Sun Lang lay on the bed and said matter-of-factly, "You sleep on the floor. Don't show your original form, don't snore, and don't grind your teeth. Otherwise, I'll throw you into the pot to cook soup." He Xiandang felt that something was wrong. However, Sun Lang's abuse of power was not something a small banshee could resist. She snorted and took out a long rope from her sleeve. Sun Lang sucked in a breath of cold air. "As a snake, you actually like this? I'm warning you, don't mess around. I'm not that kind of person. I won't accept such a low-level job. It doesn't suit my identity as a Super S gold-level trainer. If you want me to provide S&M service, you'll have to prepare candles, balls, whips, beads, and collars. You're saying things I don't understand again." He Xiandang snorted and tied the rope to the two pillars. Then, with a light leap, he nimbly lay down on the long rope. His body was as soft as a snake, as if he had no bones, tightly wrapped around the rope. His round and slender thighs, his slender and beautiful arms, and his soul-stirring waist. All of this, in Sun Lang's eyes, was like dung. He could see but not touch, he could smell but not eat. What use was there for a hammer? So, he rolled his eyes. "What kind of Xiao Long Nu are you cosplaying? Don't you know that, as a dragon, she has a total of 2 generations of pilots? Oh, almost 3 generations. In some classical wuxia genre reworks, this number is even higher. So you so noisy?" The banshee mumbled. Go to sleep, go to sleep. You're really a human. If it weren't for the fact that you're always saying things I don't understand, you'd be quite pleasing to the eye. What is a small banshee like you now?" Sun Lang lay on the bed and looked up at the beam. He said lightly, "Some things, if you don't talk about it often, you'll slowly forget. Forgetting is habitual. Gradually, you'll forget more and more until you forget your hometown and where you came from. However, the worst thing is that the new world won't accept you. Forget it. Why am I telling you this? I won't lower myself to the same level as a banshee. Good night." He waved his hand, and an extremely slender sword chi swept past silently. With a snap, it cut off the banshee dang's rope. With a squeak, He Xiandang fell to the ground and pounced on a big rabbit. "It hurts." The banshee dang clearly didn't know what had happened. "What happened? Why did the rope break?" Sun Lang mumbled, so noisy. Go to sleep, go to sleep. You banshee dang, always making such a mess of things." He Xiandang snorted and tied the rope again. First, he carefully tested it a few times. After finding that there was no problem, he lay down. Squeak. "Sure enough, it's you who's playing tricks. So noisy, go to sleep. Don't make a sound." Oomph. Squeak. The next morning, the sky was already bright. Normally, the villagers would have already done their work and gone home to eat. However, today, most of the people in the village weren't in the mood to work in the fields because something big had happened in the village last night. The village was only so big, so it didn't take long for everyone to leave. Soon, everyone knew what had happened. The matter was very simple. Last night, everyone had gone together to set a fire and burn that arrogant and domineering Xie Ague to death. At the same time, he also found a young and inexperienced lad to be the scapegoat, coaxing him to take the blame for killing Xie Ague. The plan was perfect. When dawn came, he would send people to spread the news that a peerless young hero had killed Xie Ague overnight and then burned down the Xie family. Whether it was the investigation by the government or Jianghu seeking revenge, everyone would focus on Zhou's son. The men, women, and children in the Zhuang family were all innocent. After the fire was extinguished at dawn, Old Master Zhao led people to dig up Xie Ague's body and fiddle with it as early as possible. Whether it was destroying the body or fabricating evidence, they would do it beautifully. Then, they would bribe the coroner and confirm that it was a Jianghu vendetta. In this way, young hero Zhou would gain fame, the government office would get bribed, old Master Zhao would take back his family property, and the villagers would also get the payment for their hard work and rent-free promise from the old master. Everyone would benefit. This was the so-called win-win situation. However, this seemingly flawless plan encountered a fatal flaw from the very beginning. This Agwe, damn it, this forgetful bastard. How could he not be at home last night? At that time, the sun had just risen and it was not warm. When old Master Zhao heard that he had not found Xie Agwe's body after searching for 2 to 4 hours, he immediately felt as if he had drunk Sprite. The sun was not poisonous at all, but his body swayed and he felt that he was going to faint. Damn it, the Xie family that was burned down last night was actually my house. It was Xie Agwe who took it from me. In order to burn this forgetful bastard to death, I even sacrificed my own house. How could you tell me that Agwe slipped out last night? Not in the house. He immediately thought of Xie Agwe's methods, his martial arts, his Jianghu friends, and his shrewd methods. He could not help but shiver. What happened last night had thoroughly offended Agwe. The crime of destroying his family and killing people was a crime that would not be forgiven until one of them was dead. With Xie Agwe's arrogant personality, how could he let it go so easily? He must have extremely vicious means. Perhaps he had already known all of this and slipped out of the house in advance. Then, he ran to the town or the county to complain to old Master Zhao. This was also unknown. The villagers who came with old Master Zhao to dig up the body looked at each other. They could imagine the shock and fear in their hearts. However, they did not panic. That young hero Zhou from last night. Master Zhao seemed to have grasped onto a life-saving straw. He brought a group of people and rushed back home. No matter what, Xie Agwe was not burned to death at home. This matter had put them in a passive position. At this time, the biggest hope to break this deadlock was on this hot-headed young hero, who was so naive that he was almost cute. He ordered his family to leave, tidied his clothes, and with the most perfect smile, he took a few steps forward and knocked on the door of young hero Zhou and his maid. Young hero Zhou's unhurried voice sounded from inside. "Hello, I don't need to clean up, don't need special clothes, and don't need breakfast. Damn it, does this guy really think he is a master?" However, Mr. Zhao was a flexible person. He said softly, "Young hero, did you rest well last night? Oh, it's old master. Hurry up and open the door. Don't sleep anymore." A moment later, young hero Zhou's fairy-like female companion opened the door. Her beautiful figure and stunning appearance made even old Master Zhao, who was already powerless, feel a stagnation in his chest and a heat in his lower abdomen. This beauty's clothes were slightly messy, and her eyes were drowsy, as if she hadn't slept well. Sun Lang, who walked out, had a ruddy complexion, as if he had completed the great harmony of his life. All of this made the Zhao clan patriarch curse in his heart. Damn it, he really knows how to cause trouble. Chapter 259. The sizable Xie mansion had already been burned to the ground. At this moment, old Master Zhao's heart throbbed with pain as he looked at the familiar place that had been burned beyond recognition. Damn it, this is my house. In order to burn Xie Agwe to death, I even sacrificed this. Damn it, he's not here. Sun Lang led the way into the fire. There was still some residual heat inside, and the smell of smoke and fire assaulted their noses. Fourth Master Zhao also followed in. When he smelled the smell, he couldn't help but cover his mouth and nose. The ranger looked at him strangely. "Old mister, what's wrong?" Fourth Master Zhao said in a muffled voice. "Young hero, please forgive me. I don't like the smell of smoke." Sun Lang was surprised. "Don't you like to eat barbecue?" Old mister was puzzled. "I don't like it." "Young hero, why do you ask?" Sun Lang was even more surprised. "Aren't you Fourth Master Zhao? How can Fourth Master Zhao not like barbecue?" "Damn it, I'm Fourth Master Zhao, and I like to eat barbecue. Is there a connection between these two? Is there something wrong with your head?" The ranger didn't bother with this question anymore. He looked at the burnt house and looked around. "No bodies? Did you find any secret passageways?" "No bodies." Old Mr. Zhao sighed. No secret passages. I've searched all the cellars and even brought the village's fierce dogs, but I didn't find any clues. Sun Lang pretended to know the answer. How do you know there are no secret passages? At the mention of this, fourth Elder Zhao's heart twitched. This house was originally my ancestral property, but it was snatched away by Xie Agawei. Thus, I know where to hide people and where to build secret passages. The ranger was shocked. Then you burn it? What should we do? If you die one day, won't your ancestors beat you to death? You brat, your mouth is really annoying. However, he still had a favor to ask of others. It could be considered a seller's market. Old Mr. Zhao gritted his teeth and bowed down. Young hero, please have mercy on our lives. Sun Lang was startled and took 2 steps back. He waved his hand and said, No, I can't control this. Your dead father and dead grandfather, as well as your dead ancestors, are angry with you. They want to appear in your dreams and take you to the underworld to give you a big slap. This is a matter of course. Even if I want to stop the fight and save you, I have the will, but not the power. After all, you really deserve a beating. Good fellow, you even dare to burn the house of your ancestors. Was this bastard doing this on purpose? Old Master Zhao gritted his teeth and looked up, only to see young Hero Zhou's troubled and sincere expression, as if he was really worried about something like, if Zhao sees ancestor slaps him, should I persuade him or not? What a dilemma. His expression was so sincere, and his eyes were so moving, without a single flaw. Old Master Zhao observed him with the experience and insight of a man who had lived for 60 or 70 years, and came to a conclusion. Was he really worried about this matter? Was he really that stupid? Damn it. No wonder he came to find Xie Agawei in the middle of the night. He was a fool. Old Mr. Zhao cursed in his heart. He shook his head with a bitter face. It's not about our ancestors. It's about Xie Agawei. Since he's not dead and found out that his house was burned, how could he let us go? Sun Lang came to a sudden realization. Then he smiled excitedly. Oh, right. He's not dead yet. That's great. Xie Agawei's not dead yet. The heavens have eyes. Eyes my ass. I burned down my house and didn't burn that bastard to death. What kind of eyes is that? Old man Zhao cursed in his heart, but he had to keep a smile on his face. Yes. Congratulations, young hero. You finally have the chance to kill this evil man with your own hands. Sun Lang nodded and said proudly, All right, village chief, I'll accept this quest. Crusade against the evil Xie Agawei, right? Don't worry, I'll set off now. Let me tell you, I'm a top player. This kind of small quest is as easy as pie. In less than half a month, I'll be able to make Xie Agawei change sides and surrender. Wait, you want to leave? If you leave just like that, who am I going to use as a scapegoat? 10 days to half a month? If you ran for 10 days to half a month and Xie Agawei came back to make a scene, the blood on my neck would have turned cold long ago. Old Master Zhao quickly got up and grabbed Sun Lang's sleeve. With a bitter face, he said, Young hero, please wait. This Xie Agawei has escaped without trace. Where are you going to find him? We need to think of a plan. We can't let him escape. I have a plan. Young hero, please announce to the public that you burned down Xie Agawei's house. Sun Lang shook his head and said in a low voice, To be honest, 2 years ago, I was permanently expelled from the regiment. Although I explained it many times, my former comrades believed that I had betrayed the organization, because they believed that a virgin could not have the strength that I had. I felt very sad. The FFF group has become my eternal regret. I've already sworn that I will never use the power of fire again. F***CK. What kind of mess is this? Fourth Elder Zhao was anxious and patiently said, This is just a plan. Think about it. You said that you burned down Xie Agawei's house and even called him out by name to challenge him. Xie Agawei is now a person who cares about face. How could he swallow this humiliation? Naturally, he will come looking for you. This way, young hero, you won't have to waste any time and effort to find him. Young hero Zhou thought for a while and nodded. He smiled and said, That makes sense. I was worried about not being able to find Xie Agawei. Since that's the case, let him come himself. As so smooth? This brat was really stupid to the extreme. How did he survive until now? Fourth Elder Zhao's face was full of smiles, but he snorted coldly in his heart. He then bowed and said, "If that's the case, this old man will send people to Lu Town and all the villages to spread the name of young hero Zhou." Before Sun Lang could say anything, they suddenly heard a commotion coming from outside. The two of them felt strange and left the rubble of the ruins. Looking into the distance, they saw a group of people on horseback beating gongs and drums, carrying several boxes of heavy gifts. They were leading cows and goats, wearing red and color clothes, and playing a loud Swana tune. They were walking towards the Wei Manor. Old Mr. Zhao squinted and looked for a while. His eyes flashed with surprise. "This is the head of the He family in Lu Town, Mr. Chunlai. What's he doing here?" Sun Lang's eyes flashed with a smile. He blinked. He said that he was going to Lu Town so loudly last night. It would be strange if he didn't find him. He said very innocently, "I've never heard of him. Who is he?" Old Mr. Zhao seemed to want to explain the He family's social status in Lu Town. The people there had already noticed the two of them. They saw the head of the He family get off his horse and rush over. His face was full of gratitude, and his expression was sincere. He rushed in front of Sun Lang and kowtowed without hesitation. He kneeled even more neatly than old Mr. Zhao did last night. "Greetings, benefactor." Sun Lang looked very surprised at first. Then he suddenly realized. He pointed at the head of the He family and said, "It's you. You're the one who was hung at home and beaten like a dead pig by Kong Zhongwu last night." When the head of the He family heard, "It's you," he showed a grateful expression and nodded. He didn't expect that there would be another sentence. When he heard it clearly, he couldn't stop nodding. Thus, he successfully became a dead pig that was hung and beaten. Wasn't this King embarrassing? However, the head of the He family was obviously a dirty person. He quickly hid the anger that flashed in his eyes and still kowtowed. "I'm ashamed to be saved by Benefactor. Last night, Benefactor was awe-inspiring. You caused havoc in the Kong family and smashed half of the Kong family. You were really invincible. Today, the whole town of Lu Town was shocked. They all praised you and said that you are a good man who upholds justice on behalf of heaven." Sun Lang was shocked. Praise? What kind of King praise is that? The ancient people wouldn't use such vulgar and direct words. Everyone called this game bamboo flute in the bamboo forest. It sounded very elegant. Anyway, the head of the He family didn't understand Sun Lang's slang. He clasped his hands and said sincerely, "In short, everyone praised Benefactor as a young hero. Today, I came here to thank you for saving my life." Secondly, he kowtowed again and said loudly, "Last night, Benefactor carried out justice on behalf of the heavens. Unfortunately, Kong Zhongwu was so lucky that he managed to escape. Today, I'm here to ask Benefactor to uphold justice and eliminate all evil. Kill Kong Zhongwu and return Lu Town to its former glory." Mr. Zhao's expression changed. "He Chunlai, so you're here to steal my scapegoat." He coughed and said, "Mr. He, young hero Zhou has already made an agreement with me to help Wei Zhuang get rid of Xiaoge. Everything has to be done first served. You have to wait. First come, first served?" He Chunlai smiled proudly. Speaking of first come, first served, Benefactor smashed the Kong family's house last night and then came to Wei Zhuang. Speaking of first come, first serve, you have to kill Kong Zhongwu first. No, kill Xiaoge first. Young hero Zhou has already promised me." The two glared at each other and looked like they were about to fight. At this time, the pure and kind, smart and brave, righteous and honest young hero Zhou separated the two. Don't fight. Upholding justice on behalf of heaven, you have to abide by the basic law." Fourth Mr. Zhao asked, "Then, young hero Zhou, which one do you want to help first?" "That's not right. These two things can be considered as one." Sun Lang shook his finger. "Kong Zhongwu and Xiaoge are both big scourges. Let's think of a way to get rid of them together. Won't that solve the problem?" This idea was unanimously approved by the two present. He Chunlai asked, "Benefactor, what's the plan?" Sun Lang smiled deeply. "Listen to me slowly. The squire of Weizhuang, fourth Mr. Zhao, and He Chunlai of Lu Town's He family were both well-known figures in the area. They were experienced and astute. Their eyes flashed with coldness and mockery as they looked at the hot-blooded and foolish young man in front of them. In this day and age, martial arts were not as useful as brains. No matter how strong one's martial arts were, if one was stupid, there would only be a knife in someone else's hand, just like the young man in front of them. However, they did not know that this hot-blooded young man was also coldly watching their performance. "You two idiots, since you've fallen into my hands, you should obediently smash your heads into the walls of 100 Herb Garden for me. Watch how I play you to death." Chapter 260. When Sun Lang was telling his wonderful plan to the two squires, a few strange people quietly appeared in a dilapidated temple 5 miles south of Lutown. A tall man with a sallow complexion carried a steel fork and walked into the temple unhurriedly. He wore a tattered felt hat and thin clothes, and his chest was bare. He looked like an ordinary farmer, but he was clearly not a farmer, and this trip was not to farm. The man came to the front of the temple and said in a low and dull voice, "Is everyone here?" In the temple, a woman's voice responded, "The old lady hasn't come yet." As soon as the voice fell, a sharp laugh came from the other side of the temple. "Who said I haven't come yet? Ha ha ha! A 30 or 40-year-old widow is not as sensitive as me, an old woman who has lived long enough. It's really getting worse with each generation." The old woman came out from the corner, waving an iron palm leaf fan in one hand and a scale in the other. She slowly stepped into the temple and looked around. "Demons, monsters, useful, useless, damned, not dead, they are all here. Why are they all here today? Who do you want to deal with?" The farmer stepped into the temple with her and frowned when he heard the words, "Nine caddies, old lady, don't talk too much." The people in the temple were like the untouchables in the marketplace of the empire. A woman with a decent appearance and a good figure was wearing a linen morning dress. Her face was thin, and her eyes were red. It seemed that she had just cried. At this time, she was leaning against a pillar in the temple with her head down. Between her slightly rough hands, there were circles of thin cotton threads. They were like living creatures, jumping and changing in her hands, forming beautiful patterns. There were elephants, birds, flowers, and more of them were small people. If this was in the streets and alleys of the town, the flower rope would be regarded as a divine skill by the children. But the farmer knew that the seemingly fragile white cotton thread had passed through many people's necks and easily cut their skulls. The woman named fourth sister-in-law Dan was actually a very pitiful person, however, who wasn't the same among the people present. Since when was there a lack of pitiful people in this world? The other woman in the room was in a much worse state than Dan C's sister-in-law. Her clothes were tattered and she looked like a beggar. Her hair was messy and her eyes were empty. At this moment, she was staring at the little figure on the cotton thread in the widow's hand. She was lost in thought and muttered, "If my Aunt Mao was still here, he would be this big now, old beggar, a lunatic like a wolf." She married Hudong's tyrannical blade, Hilaolu, but her husband died first, and then her child died. She's a complete lunatic. In addition, there was also a thin and weak young man wearing a thick jacket. He was shivering and coughing softly. He looked unwell, but his lips were unexpectedly bright red. When he saw the farmer and the old lady come in, he subconsciously stuck out his bright red tongue and licked his lips, revealing an unfriendly smile. Hua Xiaoshuan, who suffered from a strange disease, had to be suppressed with fresh and warm human blood. After biting his parents to death, he still went crazy. "Wow!" The old granny waved her palm leaf fan and looked at the 5 people in the temple. Birth, old age, illness, death, love, and separation. There are also those 2 who made a fortune. I think the 8 distresses are about to be gathered. The widow didn't raise her head and said softly, I heard that the candidates for the 5 essences have been found. The thin and weak young man also said slowly, "What about the resentment society and the unattainable desire? I heard that their family was in trouble last night. The higher-ups specially ordered them to leave home to avoid the disaster." The farmer seemed to be the leader of this small group. He said in a low voice, "I got the news that they left last night, and there was no news. They must have escaped. We have to catch them back." These words made the others widen their eyes. The strange silence lasted for a moment. The old lady laughed shrilly and said, "These 2 bastards, they don't have the guts and ran away. They want to run away after getting benefits. They really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Young people nowadays can't even keep their promises. Bandits. I've lived to the age of 79. I've lived enough. I just can't stand these people who don't abide by the rules." Her words did not resonate with anyone. In fact, to these people, the so-called promise was worth 1,000 gold. It was a very distant and strange thing. That was the promise of a hero, not them. After all, they were just a group of dead souls stained with blood and sunk into the sea of suffering. They had signed a contract with the devil and couldn't be free. The farmer broke the silence. "The higher-ups have already determined that these 2 are escaped traitors. They need to be arrested immediately. The 5 of us together," the young man said weakly. "Against the 2 of them? The higher-ups think too highly of them. Don't make meaningless guesses and tests," the farmer said calmly. "Because the higher-ups have given a death order. We want them alive." The widow's hands shook, and the cotton in her hands twisted and turned into a lifelike tiger. She raised her head and said sadly, "Birth, old age, illness, death, love, separation, resentment, unattainment, 5 aggregates. The 8 hardships of life seemed to correspond to the 8 of us. We didn't know any kung fu before. Our fates were different, and we didn't know each other. Why are we gathered together and given kung fu? Even if we want to catch traitors, we need them alive?" The remaining 3 people all looked at the farmer. They all knew that this man was the leader. His position and background were the most suspicious and complicated. If there was anyone who could solve their confusion, it would be him. The farmer still didn't change his expression. He said blankly, "When you chose to accept the power because of your own desires and hardships, you didn't talk so much nonsense." The young man said lightly, "It's not nonsense. We just want to know the meaning and value of our existence. Naturally, it's to serve the master. This is the deal we agreed on at the beginning." The farmer said coldly, "There's no need to ask anything else. Whatever the master wants us to do, we will do. Tools don't need to have self-awareness. Lackey, I just can't stand spineless puppets like you." The old woman flashed her palm leaf fan and said bluntly, "What are you looking at? I'm 79 years old. I've lived long enough. I'll say whatever I want to say. The villagers raise dogs to guard the house, not to kill them for meat. We just want to know. The higher-ups are feeding us such a big fat piece of meat. Do they want us to bite people or eat our meat? It seems that Kong Zhongwu and Xia Agawei's defection has also given you some ideas." The farmer was silent for a moment and said slowly, "I also don't know what the higher-ups want to do. I also want to know what the higher-ups want. But what is clear is that the 2 of them must have known something. Let's find them and see what they have to say." Fourth sister-in-law Dan said in a hoarse voice, "Can we trust you?" The farmer looked calm. "I'm also human. I also have times when I lose my rationality. I also have times when I regret things." The youth straightened up and swept his gaze over the farmer's neck. He narrowed his eyes and said, "Then what are we waiting for? Where are we going to catch those 2? They don't dare to run far. Once they leave Lu Town, they will die without a burial ground." The farmer said coldly, "The higher-ups ordered us to immediately rush to the 100-herb garden and wait patiently. Once we find the 2 of them, we will begin to arrest them." "That's it." The youth was stunned. Why did the 2 of them go to the 100-herb garden? How did the higher-ups determine that they would go to the 100-herb garden? "I don't know. The higher-ups did pass down such an order. We just have to follow it." The surprise on the youth's face disappeared. After a long silence, he let out a long sigh. "Don't you feel that we've been living like puppets for the past few years? When the higher-ups move a finger, we obediently appear in a certain place. At the right time, we do the right thing. We don't need to think, we only need to kill. I've had this feeling for a long time. What, the arena? The way Fourth Master Zhao and Patriarch he looked at Sun Lang was as if they were looking at an idiot who had jumped out of a novel. Yes, the Lu Town first martial arts tournament. Young hero Zhou raised his finger and said seriously, "We will set up the life and death arena in the town and list all of Kong Zhongwu's and Xiaogui's crimes. Then, we will publicly challenge them. We will use the huge pressure of public opinion and the working people's mentality to force these two scum to stand up and compete with me." At that time, he looked up to the sky and laughed. Under the ardent expectations of the people of Lu Town, this young hero will turn the tide and kill these two villains in the arena. Then, the country will be safe and the people will be happy. Isn't that perfect? Perfect, my ass. The two of them looked at each other. They both felt that this idea was a little ridiculous, and there was also a subtle sense of shame. Fourth Elder Zhao hesitated. "Young hero, we should discuss it again, what? You think it's troublesome? You think it's too big of a deal? You think it's too expensive?" Young hero Zhou's face immediately changed. He turned around and was about to leave. "Then you should find someone else." "Young hero, please stay. Young hero, please stay." Now the things had come to this. How could they let this simple-minded scapegoat run away? The two of them hurriedly pulled Sun Lang back, but this little brat clenched his teeth and insisted on setting up the arena. No matter what they said, he would not budge. "Fight in the arena. Fight in the arena." Sun Lang pointed at their noses and said resentfully, "Isn't this a typical symbol of wuxia culture? How can you not be like this? Let me tell you, there is no problem that can't be solved by a challenge tournament. Let's not talk about wuxia. Look at the fantasy school. A challenge tournament can F*King create a huge plot. Look at Dragon Ball. How many stories can this world first martial arts tournament tell? Look at it again." The two of them felt dizzy. They didn't understand, but it was a seller's market after all. Although the only designated scapegoat had made such a difficult request, for the sake of the overall situation, they had to agree even if they didn't want to. He Chunlai and Zhao Laosi looked at each other, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. They nodded tacitly and made up their minds at the same time. "Damn you, no matter whether you killed Xia Agui and Kong Zhongwu or not, I will turn you into a thief who burned down the Xie family and attacked the Kong family at night." But no matter how hard they cursed, Master Zhao Laosi had to hold their noses and send people to prepare to go to Bar Town to discuss the crusade against the unscrupulous bullies Xie Agui and Kong Zhongwu. The division of labor was very clear. Master Zhao Laosi was the squire of the surrounding villages. He sent people to the surrounding villages to spread the news of young hero Zhou's challenge to Kutung, Ba, to Kong and Xie. He Chunlai ordered people to set up a challenge tournament. Sun Lang watched the two of them start to work. He glanced at the crowd and suddenly asked, "Dead pig, oh no, Mr. He, where's the security guard who dragged you home last night?" He Chunlai's heart trembled. He smiled calmly and said, "Is it that Shin Shurchen? Young hero, don't worry. I clearly distinguish between kindness and hatred. He was asked by you to send me home. How could I make things difficult for him? I gave him some money and sent him away. My family can testify to this. If you don't believe me, I will send people to find." Sun Lang waved his hand hypocritically and said, "How can I not believe, Mr. He? It's just a casual question. That person is just a street thug. How can he be worthy of being asked by you?" He Chunlai also smiled. "A small person. Don't worry about it." The power of capital was very great, and the power of the country gentry was also very great. The combination of capitalism and feudalism had great power. In a short period of time, the explosive news spread throughout the surrounding villages. Sun Lang and the others returned to Lu Town. A fighting ring had been set up on the public land that was usually used to invite people to perform in the Pear Garden or to hold birthday parties at home. At the same time, the explosive news of the young hero Zhou, Sun punishing evil and encouraging good, as well as challenging the evil tyrants Kong Zhongwu and Xia Agui, also spread throughout the town. Even in the surrounding villages, people came to watch the fun. Sun Lang nodded. People's hearts can be used. People's hearts can be used. Master He, you did a good job. However, you did not do well enough. He whispered to Mr. He and patted his chest as if he was commanding a henchman. Do you understand? Go. When you are done, I will show you a bright way to make money. Master He's expression became awkward again. This, Sun Lang raised his eyebrows. Mr. He, if you continue to be like this, I will not recite the poem. Damn it, this little bastard. Forget it. I have already done something shameful. One more won't make a difference. He gritted his teeth and reached out to call his steward. He whispered a few words to the steward, and the steward left hesitantly with a constipated expression. After a while, the sound of children's voices spread throughout the streets and alleys of Lu Town. A group of children held the candied haws that they had just received and shouted everywhere. Lu Town's Leather City, Lu Town's Leather City. The bastard boss Kong Zhongwu ran away. Kong Zhongwu is a bastard. He is not human. Good. Sun Lang heard the voices of the people. He clapped his hands and said, Later, I will do a few more explosive jokes. It will definitely attract these two guys, or I will get some unexpected surprises. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.